I went to my roommate's wedding, and it wasn't until I arrived that I found out our other two roommates were bridesmaids. She brushed it off, explaining, "Oh, sorry, I totally forgot to mention it. I've been swamped with wedding prep and it just slipped my mind. There were only a few bridesmaid spots, so I just picked them. Don't overthink it, just enjoy being my honored guest. I always thought we were really close." When she and the bridesmaids were subjected to vulgar wedding antics, I stepped in, tied to a tree with duct tape by the groomsmen. I looked to them for help. Not a single person lifted a finger. Later, when the wedding footage was unexpectedly leaked, they turned around and accused me of being the other woman who ruined their wedding. I even lost my job because of the online harassment from so-called righteous netizens. I reached out to my roommates again, hoping they would clarify the matter, but Zheng Man pushed me off the rooftop, and I fell to my death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the train heading to my roommate's wedding. In this life, I won't be the one who sticks my nose where it doesn't belong. 1. Attention, passengers, the next station is Lincher South. For those disembarking at Lincher South, please gather your belongings and prepare to exit. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform when stepping off. I stepped off the train with my suitcase and was bumped into by a mischievous little boy. It was at that moment it finally hit me. I had been reborn, just as I expected. I had just stepped out of the train station when Zheng Man sent a message. "My car's having a bit of trouble. Sorry, but could you wait for me near the station?" A crying, whining emoji. In my past life, I genuinely thought her car had broken down. I also considered how busy and worn out she must have been in the lead up to the wedding, so I called her to discuss it. "If it comes to it, I'll just wait here for a few hours. Could you get a cab for me, Li Xinqi, and the others? That way you won't have to make the trip." She hemmed and hawed, beating around the bush, and then transferred 50 yuan to me. After we picked them up, Zheng Man sent over the address. Her place wasn't exactly close to downtown. A taxi ride there would easily cost over 200 yuan. After hanging up the phone, she sent a message in the group chat. "I've already sent the fare to Yingxia, so you all can share a cab later." The group chat immediately became lively. "Zhou Lan, Xiao Manzi, you didn't even come to pick me up yourself. Li Xinqi, well, since the money's here, let's let Xiao Man off the hook this time." I let out a cold, silent laugh inside. I knew perfectly well that money wasn't even enough for a cab ride. She didn't want to cover the gas, and she was too cheap to pay for the fare, and I ended up being the sucker who got stuck with the bill. It's been hard for us all to get together since we graduated. It was only $100 or $2. I didn't want to cause a fuss, so after I paid for the cab, I just let it go. Even though no one told me the other two roommates were bridesmaids, I just smiled and let it go. She was the one who sent me the invitation in the first place, so our friendship was just my wishful thinking all along. I took a deep breath, the chill of death's approach still echoing in my mind. In this life, whoever wants to be the sucker can go right ahead, too. I accepted the transfer and took a screenshot of my phone's battery level, sent it to the group chat as a red packet, followed by a screenshot of the transfer. "I've sent the money to the group chat. My phone's almost dead after the overnight train ride. I'll leave the taxi hailing to you guys." Zhou Lan, always one to grab a bargain, snatched up the red envelope without even glancing at the screenshot. "Zhou Lan, Zheng Man's home is in a small county town near the city." The driver who accepted the ride was reluctant to go at first. It wasn't until I gave him a 50 yuan tip in front of Zhou Lan and Li Xinqi that he agreed. Zhou Lan wasn't grateful at all. In fact, she complained the entire way. Besides being a long distance, the road was quite bumpy, so everyone felt a bit carsick. She was complaining about me in a group chat I'm not in. "This driver is absolutely terrible. I mean, why did Mu Yingxia have to show off? Zheng Man could have picked us up, and we could have had a comfortable ride. Was that so hard? Now I feel sick to my stomach and completely miserable. Ugh, she's always making a fuss." It's true my phone died, but I usually carry a power bank. This time, it was no help at all. Right across from the train station, there happens to be a shopping mall. The money I saved was more than enough to treat myself to a barbecue meal. After finishing my meal, I saw that it was about time and hurried back to the train station exit. They happened to be on the same train and had already met up inside the carriage. As soon as I stepped out of the train station, Li Xinqi spotted me from a distance and waved excitedly. Throughout our 4 years of university, While our dormitory got along well enough, it was clearly split into two camps. It was me and Li Xinqi versus Zhou Lan and Zheng Man, yet I could never forget the cold, detached look in her eyes when I was tied to a tree in her place, trying to save her. It was bitterly cold in the dead of winter. The moment Zhou Lan stepped out, she asked me for Zheng Man's address. I shook my head. She hasn't sent it to me yet. Rubbing her frozen hands, Zhou Lan looked down and continued texting Zheng Man. A moment later, she exclaimed, "You've got to be kidding me. The taxi fare is 260. She looked up at me with a hint of skepticism. "Why are you all looking at me? She only sent me 50. The screenshots in the group chat, you all saw it." A cold gust of wind blew by, and I pulled my hat down tighter. Li Xinqi, sensing the awkward tension, stepped in to smooth things over. "Maybe Zheng Man sent it by mistake. How about we give her a call and ask?" 3. Zhou Lan turned off his phone, stuffed his hands in his pockets, and said with an impatient look, "I'm not calling. If anyone wants to, you guys do it." Li Xinqi had no choice but to turn her gaze toward me. "It's not that I don't want to make the call." I pulled out my phone and lit up the screen. "Look, my battery is down to 3%. She'd never be willing to do such a thankless task. Zhou Lan, you should be the one to call. You took the money, and it's not really appropriate for me or Mu Yingxia to ask." Tired from standing, I sat on my suitcase and stirred the pot. "You and Zheng Man are so close. What are you afraid of? Just give her a call. It's not like she's going to bite your head off." The call connected, and Zhou Lan put it on speakerphone. She snapped, "Zheng Man, did you send the right address or not? How could I get my own address wrong?" Zheng Man paused for a moment, playing dumb. "Why, what's the matter?" Zhou Lan, never one to mince words, shot back, "You only gave 50. You must have a serious misunderstanding about cab fares. You're still 210 short." "Huh, I only sent 50. Oh no, I'm so sorry, so sorry. I was swamped and just tapped it without looking. Can someone cover it for now? I'll pay her back later." No one at the scene took her up on the offer. On the other end of the line, Zheng Man let out an awkward chuckle. Zhou Lan spoke up abruptly, "I sent the money back. You should take the taxi yourself. Just tell us the last 4 digits of the license plate." 10 minutes passed. Zheng Man sent a message in the group chat. "So sorry, girls, it's really hard to get a cab right now. Let me come pick you up instead. Wait for me." Seeing her plan fall apart, she had no choice but to accept her bad luck. 3 hours later, Zheng Man finally arrived. She took our luggage with a deeply apologetic look on her face. "My apologies. I've been a poor host. You must be freezing. Please get in the car." We had just gotten in the car, not even settled into our seats, when Zheng Man's fiancé, Li Gang, turned around to explain that the car had broken down. The mood in the car was somber. It wasn't until Zheng Man said, "You've come all this way, and I haven't been a good host. I've already booked a restaurant. Let me treat you to a meal later to properly welcome you." Only then did Li Xinqi and Zhou Lan's expressions brighten considerably. I fought the urge to roll my eyes. "What kind of restaurant is this?" "It's just a rustic little pub without even a proper restroom." In my past life, I must have been completely blind. It's true what they say, nice guys finish last. When we arrived at the hotel, Zheng Man's other friends were already waiting in the lobby. When it came time to assign room keys, they brushed me off with an excuse. "We have some things to discuss tonight." After settling my luggage, I made a quick stop at the restroom before joining them for the meal. The groomsmen are already in the private room. I looked over each of their faces. They will pay for this. 5. The meal was winding down, and Zheng Man's older sister began organizing the next part of the schedule. Man, take these 2 bridesmaids to try on their dresses, and then you can all go get your nails done." Her gaze met mine. "I've had someone take your friend back to the hotel to rest first. We'll pick her up to come to the house tonight." In my past life, though I was taken aback, I didn't press the issue in public to save Zheng Man's face. In private, she just brushed me off with a simple, "I was busy and forgot." Playing along, I feigned shock. "Zheng Man, we were all roommates. We gave the same amount for the gift. They're both bridesmaids. How could you not tell me? I wouldn't have been upset with you." The private room fell silent instantly. Even the proprietress, who was clearing the dishes, paused her work and muttered, "That girl really has no sense. She wouldn't be trying to swindle the wedding gift money, would she?" The proprietress covered her mouth, realizing she'd accidentally spoken her thoughts aloud. She hurriedly finished tidying up and left, her face flushed with embarrassment as she offered a casual explanation to me. Ugh, I totally forgot to mention it to you. I was swamped before the wedding and it just slipped my mind. There were only a few bridesmaid spots, so I just picked them on a whim. Don't overthink it. Just enjoy being my honored guest. Besides, being a bridesmaid is no easy task. You live the farthest away. I was just trying to spare you the hassle. With a puzzled look in my eyes, I asked, is that so? As if I had wrongfully accused her, unhappy that her sister, Zheng Man, had been publicly embarrassed. Her older sister shot me a glare and cut in. It's getting late. Let's hurry up and get ready. After returning to the hotel, I didn't stay there as they had expected. I went to the bank. Back when we were discussing the monetary gift, to make it feel more ceremonial for Zheng Man, I had specifically withdrawn cash and put it in a festive red envelope to give to her. I transferred 5,000 into my bank account and, without a moment's hesitation, bought the bag I'd been eyeing for ages. That evening, I got roped into being free labor again, this time to help decorate the wedding venue. After leisurely putting up a few double happiness characters, she drove me home. On the way back, with a worried look on her face, she seemed quite troubled. Ingxia, can I talk to you about something? I gave her a brief glance and went back to scrolling through posts on Xiaohongshu. What is it? You'll be sitting at my colleague's table tomorrow. The main table is just too crowded with the bridal party. There's no room for everyone. That's why I put you on the other side. Please don't take it the wrong way. I just figured since you made the trip all this way, I wanted to make sure you had a good meal. I nodded to show my agreement. In my past life, I complained to her, you owe me after the wedding. Seeing my lack of reaction, she thought it was strange. You seem different from before, she said. Oh, by the way, give me the camera later, just in case we forget tomorrow. A month before the wedding, she complained to me about not having a wedding videographer. I thought getting married was a big deal, so I urged her not to regret trying to save a few bucks later. I told her she should just hire a professional wedding photographer. She stubbornly insisted, it's not about the money, I just don't think it's necessary, we can take pictures ourselves just fine. I asked for their opinions in the group chat when I was buying the camera. When she asked to borrow it, I couldn't bring myself to say no, but on the wedding day, I saw her little brother kicking my camera around like a soccer ball. Oh no, I said, looking at her with a pang of guilt. I forgot to bring it. She didn't hide her disappointment. But you promised I could use it. How could you forget? Just before getting out of the car, I mentioned, at the dinner earlier, I think I saw one of the groomsmen with a camera too, the chubby one. I will never forget. It was him, Li Hao, who repeatedly bound my body with tape. His vulgar laughter still echoing in my ears. 6. The wedding pickup scene. Zheng Man took each red envelope one by one, sitting cross-legged on the bed as she counted the banknotes. When she got to mine, her accusatory tone filled the entire room. Whose is this? Why is it only 5,000? The people present shook their heads repeatedly, denying it was theirs, forgotten in a tiny corner. I spoke up in reply, mine. I pointed at Zhou Lan and Li Xinqi, their bridesmaids, so 10,000 is their gift. 5,000 for me is just right. Zhou Lan took a step forward, scolding me, Muing Xia, that's really low of you. Didn't we agree on 10,000 each? Is there any need to go back on your word now? Li Xinqi leaned closer to Zhou Lan and Zheng Man. It's only 10,000 yuan, or are you still upset that we didn't tell you we were bridesmaids? We already apologized. Upon hearing this, Zheng Man reached out her hand, expecting me to hand it over. I sighed, speaking with genuine sincerity. My original intention was to give 10,000, but bridesmaids should have their own special role to play, right? You're even holding bridesmaid gifts, surely your contribution should be a bit more substantial than mine, as just a friend who's traveled from afar. I shot Zheng Man a meaningful look. Don't you think, if I give 10,000, then they should at least give 15, right? Zheng Man's eyes gleamed with a shrewd light as she nodded cluelessly, while the bridesmaids froze mid-photo, their hands going stiff. I continued, pleading earnestly, I'm only thinking of what's best for you. If you're willing to fork out another 5,000, I'll make up the difference right now. The moment money was mentioned, a dead silence fell over the room. Zheng Man's sister didn't speak up for her either. After all, She had only chipped in 5,000 herself. A wedding is all about celebrating joy. Any gift, big or small, is a token of good wishes. Man, you really shouldn't fuss over such things. After saying that, Zheng Man's older sister shot another glance in my direction. 7. Bang, bang, bang. A chaotic knocking sounded at the door. Zhou Lan, holding up her gown, positioned herself squarely in front of the door to block it. Tipping her chin up, she said with a condescending air, "We're not like you. We'll even give you a share of the red envelope." This time, I didn't choose to stand guard by their side near the door. Instead, I retreated to the opposite corner to watch the drama unfold. In my past life, I got up early to help them. While changing into the gown, it suddenly occurred to me that even though the room had heating, we wouldn't be staying indoors the whole time. I suggested, "Why don't you wear pants or something underneath? The dress is long enough that no one will see." Zhou Lan immediately objected, "I'm not wearing any, nothing can get in the way of my photo shoot." Outvoted by the majority, she reluctantly put them on, yet when she was shoved, left sprawled on the ground and humiliated in front of everyone, she turned all her resentment on me. When I was tied to a tree and subjected to online abuse, you chose to stand by and do nothing. Ah, with a pained cry. The door was already kicked in by the groomsmen. Zhou Lan lay on the floor, his buttocks exposed in nothing but underwear, his face contorted in pain. He hadn't yet realized he was completely exposed to the crowd. The onlookers erupted into jeering laughter. I scanned the room. Besides Li Gang, the best man, the crowd that had surged in also included some relatives and neighbors who were just there for the spectacle. Quite a few people in the room pulled out their phones to take pictures. By the time Zhou Lan realized what had happened, she was on the verge of tears. Her face flushed crimson and her eyes welling up. "No pictures, don't take any pictures, stop filming." She turned around and threw herself on the ground in a tantrum. I followed Li Gang's gaze. He was staring fixedly at Zhou Lan with a look that was far from innocent. Seeing all the attention shift to Zhou Lan, Zheng Man grew anxious and instinctively looked for me. Her face darkened when she saw me staring at Li Gang. Noticing I wasn't close by, she then shot a glance at Li Xinqi, signaling her to pull Zhou Lan away. What awful luck, given his earlier performance. The bridesmaids didn't dare give him too hard a time. They half-heartedly asked for a few red envelopes, after which Zheng Man's sister took charge and announced, "All right, the groom may now carry the bride." Li Gang looked troubled. Zheng Man weighed nearly 80 kilograms. How could he possibly lift her? So he switched to carrying it on his back. The moment I stepped out, I saw the camera shattered on the floor beside the table. Li Gang saw his camera in that sorry state and pushed his way through the crowd. "Who did this? Who the hell did this?" His shout instantly silenced the entire room. The culprit hid behind the adults, not daring to make a sound. With just one glance, Zheng Man knew it was her brother's doing. "It's just a camera. The place is crowded. Someone probably knocked it over by accident." Li Hao's voice rose another notch. "A camera? Do you have any idea how much it costs?" "Nearly 10,000 yuan. I've barely used it myself." He turned his head to Li Gang. "I don't care, you're the one who borrowed it, and now there's a problem. You have to compensate me, or don't blame me for not caring about brotherhood." Li Gang shot a sidelong glance at Zheng Man. "Compensate? Of course, I'll compensate, but we're in the middle of a wedding right now. You have to give me some face, right?" Hearing him relent, Li Hao finally stepped aside. 8. Even though Zheng Man was on his back, her feet never left the ground. I trailed unsteadily behind them, pressing my lips together to keep from laughing out loud. Just then, Li Hao let out a low whistle at Li Xinqi. His eyes lingered lecherously on her chest. He brushed against her, the contact fleeting yet deliberate. Though not tall, Li Xinqi had a graceful, well-proportioned figure. The strapless gown made her look even more radiant. Looking at her worried, frightened little face, to be honest, I felt a pang of sympathy. After all, I was the closest to her, but at the thought of everything I endured in her place, my fists clenched at my sides. Soon, the show is about to begin. In my previous life, after the bridal pickup, they never told me which private room it was. In the festive hall, I was wandering around like a headless chicken. I called and texted them all, but no one replied. I only found out later that Zhou Lan had deliberately kept me in the dark because I had embarrassed her. I had secured a prime spot for the show well in advance. Li Gang held the car door open for Zheng Man. My gaze was fixed intently on the emerald necklace around her neck. Zheng Man didn't just borrow my camera, she also asked for my necklace. She said she needed it to match her wedding dress and asked me to send it to her first. But when she returned it later, a corner of the diamond was missing. At the time, I was caught in a whirlwind of public criticism. When I demanded compensation from her, she turned around and claimed my necklace was a fake. In that dazed moment, a crowd surged onto the red carpet, armed with snow spray and streamer cans. They began mercilessly showering the people stepping out of the wedding car. To the informed, it's a wedding. To the uninformed, it looks like a bitter feud. In the blink of an eye, Zheng Man and Li Gang were covered from head to toe in white foam. Her face flushed crimson with anger. Li Gang stood by with an apologetic smile. Since they were his relatives, he couldn't really say anything, so he had to let his wife bear the brunt of it for now. With a single glance, I saw that not a single bridesmaid or groomsman had been spared. Just at that moment, Zheng Man's mother-in-law was carrying a bucket of water. She shouted at the top of her lungs through the crowd, "Make way, everyone make way for me." She gave a great sweep of her arm. The water drenched Zheng Man to the bone, leaving her looking like a drowned rat fresh from the river. Shivering from the cold, she pouted and complained to Li Gang, "Honey, look what Mom did. The makeup I spent all morning on is completely ruined." Zheng Man's mother-in-law looked up and said, "What do you know? I'm washing away your bad luck." No sooner had she spoken, a chorus of rowdy cheers erupted from behind the wedding car. Li Xinqi and Li Hao were jostled and squeezed into the middle of a crowd formed by the groomsmen and a group of burly, older men. Several men were tugging at the hem of Li Xinqi's clothes. Seeing this, Zhou Lan took several quick steps backward, afraid of getting caught up in the commotion. In no time, Li Xinqi's coat was stripped away. The weather was already bitterly cold, and the wind cut straight to her bones. Shivering, she wrapped her arms around herself, struggling to break free from the circle surrounding her. But the more she struggled, the more excited the man became. A smirk played on Li Hao's lips. "Little sister, are you cold?" He extended his arm. "Come here, let Big Brother give you a hug to warm you up." Tears welled up in Li Xinqi's eyes, her voice trembling. "No, let me out." She raised her voice, pleading. Zheng Man, help me." A shiver ran down Zheng Man's spine. She tugged at Li Gang's sleeve. "Honey, isn't this going too far?" Li Gang rubbed his hands together. "It's just a joke. No need to make such a big fuss about it." He wished it were him up there instead. In no time, Li Xinqi was bound to the tree with tape, deliberately avoiding her more ample curves. Her clothes were pulled so tight they barely covered her private areas. As the group of men groped her, she wept uncontrollably. Her pleading eyes searching the faces of every onlooker. Not a single woman at the scene dared to step in and help, knowing full well that she would become the next target, and the men were all accomplices. The groomsmen forced Li Hao's head toward Li Xinqi, trying to make them engage in a French kiss. Li Xinqi pursed her lips and backed away, her whole body numb from crying. 9. The very instant their lips met, sirens blared from behind the wedding procession. As the police officers stepped out of their car, they were met with this chaotic scene. The main perpetrators were immediately handcuffed. Li Hao crouched on the ground, wearing an ingratiating smile. "Hey man, we were just fooling around." The officer didn't even look at him. "Who called this in?" The people at the scene began murmuring amongst themselves. "What on earth is going on at a joyous occasion like this? Why are the police even here?" I announced in a booming voice. Chin held high as I stepped out from the crowd. "It was me, I did it." Zheng Man, clutching the hem of her wedding dress, charged toward me in a fury. I instinctively dodged, my foot hooking out almost without thought. With a heavy thud, her massive frame crashed to the ground, the soaked wedding dress mingling with the mud. She howled in pain, cursing and swearing. I brushed off my clothes and walked over to the police officer. "Hello, officer. I'm the one who called the police." I pointed at Zheng Man, who had just been helped to her feet. "This woman stole my necklace." Zheng Man immediately retorted, "Muing Xia, have you lost your mind? Didn't you promise to lend it to me for the wedding? What's the meaning of calling the police now? I knew something was off about you. Are you jealous of me getting married? Are you trying to ruin my wedding?" After saying that, she froze, as if remembering something. She glanced over at the groom and her mother-in-law. Looking a bit guilty, I rolled my eyes at her, hard. I never knew she could be so shameless. Zheng Man's future mother-in-law suddenly spoke up. What? This necklace isn't part of your dowry. We had an agreement. How could you deceive our family like this? This is marriage fraud. You're committing fraud. Li Gang was also taken aback. Amidst all their clamor, I've already provided the police with evidence including the jewelry purchase records, appraisal certificates, video footage of the package being shipped, and the audio recording of Zheng Man receiving the delivery. The necklace around Zheng Man's neck, while seemingly identical at a glance, shows subtle differences in color and luster upon closer inspection, not to mention the diamond missing a corner. It's clearly a counterfeit. After verifying that her information checked out completely, the police handcuffed her and prepared to take her back to the station. Zheng Man was crying hysterically, her eyes pleadingly fixed on Li Gang. But Li Gang was a man who shied away from trouble, and his mother was still fuming. He wouldn't dare speak up so easily. Just as I turned to follow the police officers back to the station to file the report, Li Xinqi huddled among the crowd, her body trembling in the biting wind as she clutched the tattered remnants of fabric to cover herself. Wait, I want to file a report too. I'm pressing charges against him, and him. She pointed at each of the groomsmen who had taken things too far. I'm going to report them for sexual harassment. Li Hao sprang up from the ground and threatened through gritted teeth. Hey, we were just joking around. Watch what you say. Anyone with eyes could see what had just happened. The officer gave a sharp reprimand but didn't say much else. They were all taken into custody and brought to the station. Well, that settled it. There was no way Li Gang could slip away now. Zheng Man's future mother-in-law remained rooted to the spot, collapsing to the ground. What on earth is going on? It was supposed to be a perfect wedding. How did everyone end up at the police station? She was left alone, a centenarian, to console the guests. 10. We arrived at the police station. Zheng Man insisted that the necklace I had borrowed was the very one she was holding. Under the police's intense questioning, Zheng Man finally confessed. I sold the necklace. It was a moment of madness. I'll get it back right now, please, just let me go. Ever since Li Gang found out the necklace was fake and that the real one was the one she borrowed from me, his expression has been grim, and now, to top it all off, I have to help pay it back. As for the best man, the two parties failed to reach a settlement. The police opened an investigation, and in the end, the best man was sentenced to 5 years in prison. After giving my statement, I went back to the hotel to rest. Within a day, the police recovered the necklace. Once it was back in my hands, I inspected it carefully and found it was completely undamaged. Only then was I able to relax. The police explained to me that the necklace was sold by Zheng Man for 300,000. When we tried to buy it back, the buyer was unwilling, and we ended up paying an extra 80,000 to get it returned. They really have no eye for quality. My mother bought this emerald necklace for 500,000, and its current market value is at least 800,000. 11. The hashtag bride taken to police station on wedding day went viral. Footage from the day was also widely circulated. Zheng Man then posted a tearful video online, saying, "Hello everyone, I'm the bride, on my wedding day. My so-called best friend had me sent to the police station. I know she's always been envious of me, and she's especially jealous that I found a wonderful husband. The way she looks at him is just not right. I've hinted at it a few times, but she held a grudge and did this to get back at me." Shortly after Zheng Man's video was posted, Zhou Lan also popped up online, insinuating that she had feelings for the groom. With my lightning-fast internet connection, there was no way I was going to let them get the upper hand. I immediately posted a clarification video online, detailing the entire process of my visit to the police station that day. Then, I publicly shared the court summons I filed against Zheng Man for the charges of misappropriation and defamation. The online comments were quickly debunked. The rumor fell apart on its own. The more netizens dug, the more they uncovered. Very soon, the video of Li Xinqi's wedding prank was circulated with faces blurred. People began to blame Zheng Man, with some irrational netizens even staking out her home. This time, it's your turn to face the cyberbullying. According to the court's ruling, Zheng Man was ordered to compensate me 30,000 yuan for emotional distress. After that, we never contacted each other again. I never went out of my way to ask about them. For people who aren't worth it, I don't care how they're doing. And I certainly don't want them knowing how I'm doing. The next time I heard anything about them was at a class reunion. After her wedding, Li Xinqi suffered severe psychological trauma. The mere sight of a man, or the look in their eyes, would make her sick to her stomach, and she'd lash out with her fists and feet. The constant, daily screaming and fighting has severely disrupted everyday life. Her family had no other choice and had to admit her to a psychiatric hospital, even in prison. The groomsmen couldn't escape online harassment, and their families, also deeply affected, were forced to move away. Despite being affected by the online commentary, it did not ultimately impact Zheng Man's marriage. She got pregnant not long after the wedding. While she was happily recovering from childbirth, her husband was cheating on her in their new home. Completely wrapped up in the affair, she happened to catch them in the act. I just never would have imagined. Li Gang's affair partner turned out to be Zhou Lan. The classmates were still heatedly discussing it. You have no idea how chaotic the scene was. Zheng Man just went straight up with a knife and slashed Zhou Lan's face twice. That's brutal. Zhou Lan's face must be ruined. Exactly. Zheng Man's in prison now. The marriage is over, and the kids were awarded to her husband. If you ask me, it's all that man's fault. Why take it out on the woman? And there's one more thing. You'll never guess what it is. All eyes were fixed on the speaker. I remember her. She's from the same hometown as Zheng Man. Zhou Lan married Zheng Man's husband, becoming an instant mother without the labor pains. The voice continued. I sat in silence, not making a sound. Everything is cause and effect. I merely returned the original karma to them, a life regained. I'm going to make the most of it. Tomorrow, all is well. Story 2. On the first day of the extreme cold apocalypse, my daughter insisted on driving to the countryside to pick up her delinquent boyfriend. With heavy snow outside and only one car at home needed for urgent supply runs, I suggested waiting until tomorrow wouldn't make much difference. Yet that very night came news of the village being buried by an avalanche, with no survivors from the entire community. My daughter claimed it didn't matter, but 1 month later on Stark's death anniversary, she tricked me outside and locked me out in the frozen wilderness. If you hadn't stopped me from picking up Stark, he wouldn't have died. Your selfishness killed him, and you won't live either. In the last second before death, I heard my daughter laughing and crying in the living room, repeating to Stark's photo, I've avenged you. In the next life, you must wait for me. Adeline, so clever all my life, ended up being destroyed by the adopted daughter I raised for 20 years with my own hands. I died heartbroken. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the first day of the apocalypse, and my daughter told me she was going to pick up her boyfriend. This time, I readily agreed. I'll go pick you up. Serafina's eyes immediately lit up. Then I'll take the car. Thanks, Mom, you're the best. She was so excited she started dancing, quickly pulling out her phone to call her boyfriend. Stark, I'm coming to get you now. Wait for me at home. We'll be reunited soon. I watched her back as she took the call, my gaze gradually darkening. In my previous life, I sensed this temperature drop wasn't ordinary, so I stockpiled some supplies at home in advance. However, Serafina kept worrying about her boyfriend Stark, who lived far away in the countryside. Before the weather got too cold, she made trip after trip to deliver my stockpiled supplies to Stark. By the time I finally realized supplies were running critically low, the snow outside had already piled up nearly knee-deep. Right at this moment, Serafina begged me to let her take the car to pick up Stark. Stark's parents are just poor farmers. Their house can't withstand the cold. How will they survive when temperatures drop further? Mom, please, for my sake, let him come stay with us. But there's only one car at home. If we go pick up her boyfriend, how will we get supplies? With the temperature dropping this fast, chances to go out are getting fewer. If we don't stock up quickly, we'll all be left waiting to die. I patiently explained to her. She seemed to agree on the surface, but when she learned Stark died that very night, she blamed me for his death. Given a second chance at life, I've made up my mind. I won't keep this ungrateful daughter either. Serafina left the house overjoyed. I looked at the thermometer. It showed -20 degrees Celsius. Still bearable enough to go outside, based on the spread rate of the apocalypse in my previous life. In just 3 more days, the outdoors would become uninhabitable. I must seize these 3 days to stock up urgently. The first thing is to call my best friend, who died at home just half a month into the apocalypse in my past life. In her previous life, she was too busy with work. I repeatedly reminded her to stock up on supplies. But she ignored it all when the apocalypse truly arrived. She was trapped at home with no help, the initial supplies I gave her couldn't sustain her for long, and half a month later, she froze to death alone in her house. Daphne, drive to my place right now, pick me up, and let's go buy supplies together. Forget about your job, the apocalypse is coming, and you're still thinking about working for capitalists. I scolded her mercilessly, and within half an hour, she arrived in the van her father left her. First, we'll buy cold weather clothing. Then head to the wholesale market for food. After purchasing everything, we'll deliver it to this address. I showed my phone to my best friend, who asked in confusion, "Isn't this the house you bought as a birthday gift for Serafina? You haven't even told her about it yet, and you're already moving things in. Are you planning to live there?" "Indeed, this is the new villa I bought last year for that ungrateful daughter of mine. Now it seems there's no need to give it to her anymore. This villa's security and cold resistance are far superior to ordinary houses, making it perfect for shelter." I came straight to the point and told my best friend about my rebirth. She went from disbelief at first to righteous indignation later. "Has Serafina gone mad? After 20 years of your devotion, she turned out to be such an ingrate. How could she do this to you? Just wait, I'm going to slap her twice right now. I won't be able to calm down otherwise." I quickly grabbed her arm. "Shopping is urgent, since she thinks Stark loves her more than I do. Then let her see whether the man who'd rather let his mother die to avenge him is actually worth it." She said no more, and the two of us silently swept through the stores, quickly settling on a large batch of supplies. By the time everything was packed, it was completely dark outside. My best friend collapsed on the sofa complaining of exhaustion, while I checked the home surveillance and saw Serafina had already returned with the others, except the returning party wasn't just her boyfriend Stark. His spiteful parents had come along too. "This house isn't as nice as you made it out to be. I thought your family was rich. Turns out you're just a fake young lady too." Stark's mother sized up the house the moment she stepped in, curling her lip at Serafina, my pampered daughter, the one I've never dared to speak harshly to, was now forcing a smile and explaining, "This is an old house my mom bought 20 years ago. We kept it because we grew attached to it, but it's definitely spacious enough for all of us." Stark wasn't pleased either. "You brought us here to live in this kind of place. I really thought you were some high-class catch. Turns out you're no better off than me. My place is at least a spacious 150 square meter apartment, fully furnished with all appliances, far better than their shabby country house. How dare they look down on it?" Serafina also felt embarrassed and quickly changed the subject. "Uncle and Aunt, you must be hungry. I bought crab and lobster. Let me cook for you. Eat as much as you like. Mom already went to stock up, so don't hold back." My face darkened. She never cooks at home, yet to please the Stark family, she suddenly volunteers. What about all these years I've raised her without tasting a single meal she made? Besides, wasn't it me who bought all the food? They finished the good stuff before I even got back. Am I just supposed to brave the cold and restock without complaint? Seeing my gloomy expression, my best friend quickly comforted me. "Stop looking at it, it'll only upset you. There's not much left at home anyway. If they eat it now, there'll be nothing left for later. There's still plenty of drama to come." I thought about it and agreed. So I turned off my phone and started making hot pot with my best friend, outside. The snow was falling heavily. My best friend and I huddled inside the house, enjoying the hot pot, feeling a unique kind of happiness, too. Before we could finish our meal, I received a call from Serafina. As soon as I answered, she started questioning me. "Mom, why aren't you back yet? There's not much food left at home, and Stark's parents are here too. If you don't come back soon, we'll go hungry." I was holding back my anger. "Why don't you ask if I'm cold, hungry, or in danger outside? All you talk about is your boyfriend's family. Whose daughter are you really?" She was left speechless by my words. I snapped, "Just wait, the supplies in our city are already gone. I'll check neighboring cities. There's still some food at home. What's there to worry about?" Hearing this, she finally let out a sigh of relief and seemed at ease. "Mom, I was just too flustered earlier to ask about you. We have enough food at home for a few more days. Buy more while you're out before coming back. Otherwise, you'll have to go out again, and it's not safe." I angrily slammed the phone down and went to sleep hugging the blanket. For the next 2 days, my best friend and I went shopping for another batch of items like heating pads, cups, and down jackets. By the third day, the temperature had dropped to -150 degrees, and no one could go outside anymore. I checked the surveillance and saw Serafina washing Stark's mother's feet. "Why are you so clumsy? Our hands with such long nails meant for work. You scratched my foot without even noticing. It hurts so much. Get out." She kicked Serafina in the chest, sending her crashing to the ground and spilling the foot-washing water. Tears of grievance quickly welled up in her eyes. She wanted to argue with Stark's mother, but met Stark's icy glare. "Stark, your aunt kicked me. Why didn't you stand up for me?" Stark said impatiently, "What's the big deal about a kick? If you want to marry into my family, serving your mother-in-law is your duty. Why are you complaining? Go heat more water later to prepare a foot soak for my father too. The water pipes are completely frozen. There's no running water. The water we just used to wash Auntie's feet was the last bit left in the house." Serafina wiped her tears and whispered to Stark, "Then hurry up and call your mother. It's been days and she still hasn't returned. We're your future in-laws, we're guests." "Is this how your mother treats guests? Such poor manners," Stark's father shouted loudly, startling Serafina, who looked at him timidly. Seeing this, Stark quickly coaxed, "Go ask Auntie when she can come back. My parents are getting old, their stomachs aren't good, and they can't handle hunger. If you make my parents unhappy, how are you going to marry me?" Within minutes, my phone lit up with Serafina's voice. "Mom, we've run out of water and food at home. Come back quickly. Bring whatever supplies you can," I said coldly. "Sorry, it's too cold outside. Mom's taking shelter in a temporary place now. I'll come back when the snowstorm stops. Just hang in there a little longer. If each of you three eats one less bite, you'll survive." I hung up directly, watching through the surveillance as she kept redialing frantically. Stomping her feet in anxiety, I've estimated the food at home. Even if the three of them ate for half a month, it would be enough. The real issue is their extreme wastefulness, throwing away meat after just a couple of bites into the trash. Their extravagant behavior shows no sense of crisis, as if they believe they can survive unscathed. Serafina failed to call me back, and with insufficient food at home, her status plummeted. "You little wretch, how dare you eat meat here? Your uncle and I haven't even eaten yet, and you're already helping yourself. How shameless can you be?" Stark's mother slapped Serafina across the face, sending her stumbling. "Auntie, these are all the leftovers from your lunch. I only had a bite of pickles at noon, and now I'm really starving." Tears streamed down Serafina's face, but Stark's mother remained unmoved. "3. I never said I didn't want the leftovers. What's it to you anyway? This was bought by my mom in the first place." "Of course it's my business. What do you mean your mom bought it?" Stark's mother's voice instantly rose sharply. "If it weren't for you pestering us to move into your place, would we have to suffer like this? No water, no food, and we can't even go outside. This is all your fault, you shameless wretch. Now you dare to eye our food. I'll beat you to death." Stark's mother grew angrier as she spoke, grabbing a nearby broom and striking Serafina with it. She was a burly middle-aged woman, hardened by years of farm work in the countryside, and her strength was terrifying. Serafina couldn't fight back at all, rolling on the ground in pain and howling. Serafina, her eyes red, screamed, "If I hadn't brought you out, you all would have died in that avalanche that night. Would you even be alive now?" Stark's father burst in and kicked Serafina hard. "How dare you talk back? Your mother has spoiled you rotten with no respect for rules. Today I'll teach you the lesson she failed to." Serafina screamed in pain from the beating, repeatedly calling Stark's name until he finally sauntered over, as if seeing a lifeline. Serafina stretched out her hand desperately. Stark looked at his girlfriend's bruised and battered face, curled his lips, and slowly uttered two words, "Serves you right." Stark and Serafina met half a year ago. Serafina was harassed by a hoodlum on her way home, and was coincidentally rescued by Stark, who happened to pass by. The classic hero saves beauty scenario is always captivating. Serafina fell hopelessly in love with Stark. Even though he had no money, education, or job, she believed he was her destined Prince Charming. I couldn't swallow my anger and immediately had someone investigate what happened that day. Turns out Stark and that punk were in cahoots. It was all an elaborate scheme specifically designed for Serafina. When I presented the evidence to Serafina, she became even more convinced that Stark was her destined soulmate. The fact that he'd go to such lengths just to be with me only proves how deeply he loves me, doesn't it? I genuinely wanted to pry open her skull to see what kind of mushy nonsense was stuffed inside. At this very moment, Serafina was finally about to pay the price for her love-struck foolishness. Stark pulled her up, offering both a slap and a sweet date as he coaxed, "Serafina, my parents have short tempers, please bear with them. There's no food at home now, and this is a matter of life and death. It's normal for them to be anxious. After all, isn't this all because you stole food? Just apologize to them, and we'll consider this matter settled, okay?" Serafina couldn't believe what she was hearing. Not only had she been beaten, but she was also expected to apologize to her attackers. She had never suffered such humiliation in all her life. "Stark, I must have misjudged you. Get out of here." She broke free from Stark's grip and tried to run into the room, but Stark reacted swiftly, grabbing her hair and yanking her violently in front of him. "Haven't you realized the situation yet? Being wicked is one thing, but being both stupid and wicked is worse. Just because your mother isn't home, do you think you still call the shots here? This house has me, my parents. But your family only has you, a defenseless little girl. If you know what's good for you, you'll obediently serve our family, otherwise, get out and find your own food. If it comes to it, when you die, we could always eat you too." Stark's words felt like a bucket of ice water, drenching Serafina to the bone with dread. She never imagined the person she cherished most would threaten her so blatantly. Darkness clouded her vision, and she collapsed, overwhelmed. These days in the villa have been extremely comfortable. Good food, good drinks, and the added entertainment of watching Serafina's drama through the surveillance. Even Daphne couldn't resist teasing me about it. Who would have thought that after the apocalypse, not only have you not withered, but you've actually become more youthful? I smiled and replied, with one less person to worry about. My mind is at ease, and naturally, I look younger, for my best friend couldn't help but sigh. Back then, I advised you to send her away, but you refused. After raising her for 20 years, not only did you get no gratitude, but you even lost your life over it. I couldn't help but darken my gaze. 20 years ago, while collecting folk stories in the countryside, I found an abandoned baby girl by the river, nearly swept away by the current. After asking around the village with the child in my arms and finding no one willing to adopt her, I couldn't bear to let her fend for herself, so I had no choice but to take her home. At that time, I still had a boyfriend who adamantly opposed my decision to raise this girl. "It's either her or me." I didn't speak, yet he already understood my meaning. "I hope you won't regret this in the future." Fearing Serafina might feel insecure and that her future husband might treat her poorly, I remained unmarried my whole life, raising her single-handedly until she turned 20. I sighed and said slowly, "Given another chance, I might still pick her up, but this time, I'd find her a good family." Before the words had even finished, Serafina's call came through. On the other end of the line was her restrained sobbing, "Mom, where are you? Can you come back right now? They're all bullying me, not giving me food, and even hitting me. I can't take it anymore. Mom, I'm so hungry." Through the surveillance, I discovered that all the food at home had been completely eaten. Even the scraps they had thrown in the trash days earlier had been dug out and redistributed. Serafina was hiding in the bedroom to call me, covered in bruises from the beatings. After days without food, she had visibly lost weight and looked utterly disheveled. I pretended to be in a difficult position. "Serafina, it's not that Mom doesn't want to come back. It's just impossible. You've seen the weather outside. Anyone standing out there for 5 minutes would freeze solid. Who dares to go out? Mom's willing but unable." Serafina broke down. "Mom, I don't care. You need to come save me right now. If you don't come, I'll be beaten to death. You can't be this selfish, just watching me die with your own eyes." "I'm selfish, knowing full well I'd die if I go out. How can you force me to leave?" "Serafina, I think I really spoiled you too much, let you grow into this ungrateful person." Serafina, having only me to rely on now, quickly softened her tone when she saw my anger. "Mom, that's not what I meant. I'm just too scared. If I'd known earlier I wouldn't have invited them over. I should have stayed properly with Mom." The remaining words were drowned out by her sobs, and my heart ached with pity. "Serafina, there's still a box of instant noodles under Mom's bed. Take them out secretly and eat them. Don't let them see. Mom will be back in a few days." Hearing there was still food, Serafina immediately stopped crying. Thanks, Mom, I knew you'd be prepared. The moment she hung up, she ran out and stood proudly before the Stark family of 3, as if to show off. My mom said there's still a box of instant noodles under the bed, so we won't go hungry tonight. See, I told you, my mom loves me to death. If I cry a little, she'll give me anything. My fingers turned white from gripping the phone too hard. My best friend was furious. That ungrateful wretch. I wish I could slap her through the screen. I'd knock her teeth out if I could. It's fine. I took several deep breaths to calm down, then placed a hand on my friend's shoulder. Even if I don't tell them, they'll find out eventually. Let them enjoy their last little treat. The real show is about to begin. On the surveillance feed, the Stark family was noisily slurping instant noodles, mainly Stark and his father eating the noodles, his mother picking at leftovers from the trash, while Serafina could only drink some noodle broth. Serafina stared longingly at the instant noodles, the tantalizing aroma making her swallow repeatedly. Stark's mother, seeing her like this, directly snatched the soup from her hands. You're eyeing the pot while eating from the bowl. If you don't want it, get lost. You should be grateful for getting any soup at all. How dare you even think about eating the noodles? She rolled her eyes and drank every last drop of Serafina's instant noodle soup. Stark couldn't help but pick up a strand of noodles with his chopsticks and said to Serafina with a smile, Serafina, would you like some? Serafina's eyes gleamed with eagerness as she nodded quickly, swallowing hard. A sweet warmth rose in her heart. Stark was truly good to her. She hadn't chosen the wrong boyfriend. She opened her mouth to take a bite of the noodles, but Stark suddenly slapped her hard across the face. You think you deserve this, Serafina? I suggest you know your place. Our family is starving and barely clothed because of you, and you still want to eat. I advise you to call your mother back immediately. Otherwise, when hunger really sets in, I can't guarantee what my parents might do, and I won't be able to protect you then. Serafina wanted to cry again, but water had become such a scarce resource that she didn't dare shed tears. She couldn't help feeling regret. Should she really have brought the Stark family here, if Mom were still around? She would never have hit her, even without food. Mom would have given everything to her, willing to suffer herself just to treat me well. The tug of regret made Serafina resent the Stark family despite herself. This was her home, all the food was hers, and she was the one who saved them. How could they repay kindness with ingratitude? How could they be so selfish? Nails left deep marks in her palm as Serafina felt her love had perhaps died. A box of instant noodles couldn't last long. And within days, the 3 family members were starving with their stomachs sticking to their backs. 5. That night, Serafina was too hungry to sleep. She wanted to check the kitchen for any leftover food, but upon barely opening the door a crack, she overheard the Stark family's conversation in the living room. I don't think her mother is coming back. It's freezing outside. She might have died somewhere without anyone knowing. Then what should we do? There's no food at home. We can't just starve to death waiting, can we? If you ask me, we should drive her out to find food. Best case, she finds some and we all survive. Worst case, one less mouth to feed. These words were spoken by Stark's father. Watching Stark's expression, he feared his son might disagree. Unexpectedly, Stark just frowned briefly and immediately agreed. I'll trick her into going out tomorrow. If she freezes to death after just a few steps, well, she'd still be meat. The unspoken words hung in the air, yet everyone understood. Serafina clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle her sobs. This is the boyfriend I chose. When disaster strikes, everyone flees for themselves, nothing but calculation, without a shred of genuine feeling. Since it's come to this, don't blame me for being ruthless. The next day, Serafina was awakened by a scream. She opened the door to find Stark's father lying stiff on the floor, his face pale, with no breath left. Stark's mother was beside herself with grief, holding Stark's father and wailing uncontrollably. Old man, what happened to you? How could you leave us so suddenly? This is a tragedy. How could a perfectly healthy person just pass away like this? Even Stark's eyes turned red as he knelt on the ground, clutching his father's hand and murmuring incessantly, how could this be? We haven't even been hungry for long. Serafina's gaze was as cold as a viper's, her lips curling into a venomous smile. Last night, while the family was asleep, she slipped the leftover rat poison into the water glasses on the table. If they didn't care about their own lives, then it was just a matter of who struck first. She hadn't expected Stark's father to be the first one up. She thought it would be that vicious Stark's mother. Stark's mother, seeing not a trace of grief on Seraphina's face, couldn't help but shout, "Was it you, this Jinx? Who killed the child's father? Tell me, what were you doing last night? You vicious woman, won't you be satisfied until you've destroyed our family?" Seraphina gave a cold, mocking smile. "Auntie, what are you talking about? I was sleeping peacefully in my room last night. Who knows what happened to Uncle? It's so cold, and with no food. Isn't it normal for an old man to not make it through? Besides, life and death are fated. If he's dead now, it just means he was meant to die. Don't you agree, Auntie?" Stark's mother was enraged by her words. Her eyes turning red with fury, she scrambled up from the ground in an instant and slapped Seraphina across the face. This time Seraphina nimbly dodged, and Stark's mother missed her strike, nearly tripping over herself instead. Seeing his mother at a disadvantage, Stark also stood up, trying to grab Seraphina, but Seraphina was as slippery as an eel, impossible to catch. "You're all a bunch of ungrateful wretches, Stark. I was wrong about you. You're just like your parents, cut from the same cloth, equally unappreciative, ungrateful, and utterly selfish. I truly regret bringing you here. Had I known, I would have let you perish in that avalanche. Then we'd all have peace." Seraphina threw caution to the wind and poured out all the thoughts weighing on her heart. Stark's face turned ashen. Stark's mother, clearly enraged, charged recklessly towards Seraphina, who happened to be standing by the balcony window. As Stark's mother lunged forward, Seraphina nimbly sidestepped and flung open the balcony window. Unable to stop, Stark's mother tumbled straight over the railing. "This is the 12th floor," along with Stark's mother's scream. 5 seconds later, a heavy thud was heard from downstairs. All sounds vanished, as if nothing had happened. 6. Mom. Stark was terrified. He had almost caught his mother, yet he could only watch helplessly as she fell down the stairs. The biting wind made it impossible to keep one's eyes open, and even bundled in thick down jackets, people couldn't endure the freezing air for long. Seraphina hurriedly closed the window, her entire body turning blue from the cold. In just a few hours, half the family was gone. Stark was so shocked he couldn't snap out of it for the longest time. These were his own parents. 2 lines of tears fell down in stunned silence. "Dad, Mom." Seraphina felt no ripple of emotion as she watched the man's grief. Instead, she experienced the exhilaration of long-awaited vengeance. Unconsciously, Seraphina actually laughed aloud. "Ha ha 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 ha." Stark raised his head in disbelief. "It's you, you're the one who killed my mother. Tell me how my father really died, or I'll make you join my parents in the grave." His veins bulged as he viciously grabbed Seraphina by the throat. Cough, cough. "Go ahead and kill me if you dare. Kill me, and you'll never get your hands on my mother's supplies. You'll just have to wait here to die." Stark suddenly realized that Seraphina still had a mother out there searching for supplies. He weighed the pros and cons. His parents were already dead, but he still had to survive. Reluctantly, he loosened his grip and collapsed as if all his strength had been drained. "You venomous woman." Seraphina survived the ordeal, clutching her neck and coughing incessantly. My best friend and I watched this scene through the surveillance footage, unable to help but frown. "I never thought she could be so cruel. She actually dared to kill someone," my best friend murmured. This child she had watched grow up had truly committed murder. My eyes showed no ripple of emotion. I had already witnessed her tactics in my past life, and in my heart, she had long been a murderer. I spoke to Seraphina and the others through the surveillance system. "Seraphina, Mom will come pick you up tomorrow. I found a rescue shelter with food and warm supplies, but there's only one seat in the car. Aren't there 4 of you there? I can only take 1 person, so say your goodbyes to them properly." Seraphina quickly replied, "They're all dead. Now it's just me and Stark." "Mom, can you take 2? We can squeeze in. I'm very thin." My voice carried embarrassment. "Child, there's only 1 spot at the base, and I had to beg and plead to get even that. Even if I took both of you, only 1 could enter in the end. You two should discuss this properly." Mom's hanging up now. Without waiting for Seraphina to speak, I hung up the phone directly. When life and death interests are truly placed before you, how many people can selflessly give the chance to live to someone else? Stark looked at Serafina with eyes that already regarded her as an enemy. Serafina knew she couldn't overpower Stark physically. She pleaded, "Don't kill me. I'll give you this spot, you can go with Mom, I can wait here until the rescue team comes for me." Stark sneered coldly, "Do you think I'm stupid? She's your mother, not mine. Would she abandon her own child to save a stranger like me? The safest way is to kill you. When your mom comes, I'll just say you didn't make it through the night. What can she do to me anyway? There's only one spot left, and with you gone, I just need to sweet-talk her into taking me instead." 7. His sinister laughter sent chills down Serafina's spine, her back drenched in cold sweat. "Stark, have you forgotten what we meant to each other? I loved you so much. I even sent you all the money Mom gave me. I lost a child because of you. I gave you everything. How could you even think of killing me? You were the one who saved me from those thugs. I truly saw you as my savior." Serafina's tears flowed uncontrollably. "You're the fool here. That day was just a setup between me and him. Who knew you'd be so naive? Even when your mother told you the truth, you refused to believe it. Don't you deserve to be tricked by me? All in all, thank you. Without you, how could I have lived so comfortably these past days? Not only did I have endless money to spend, but I also got to sleep with you for free, a young lady like you. Now you've even given me your survival slot. Serafina, I'll be grateful to you for life. Now, it's time for you to go." He viciously choked Serafina's neck. Her eyes rolled back almost instantly, and just as she was about to lose consciousness, Stark's body collapsed limply to the ground. Warm blood spilled onto the ground, quickly freezing into ice due to the extreme cold. Stark quickly stopped breathing, and Serafina's hands trembled so much she could barely hold the knife. While Stark was talking to Serafina, she quietly picked up a fruit knife nearby, using their conversation to distract him. That strike was aimed directly at the artery by Serafina. It wasn't me, I didn't kill him." He ran into the blade himself. Serafina's face was streaked with tears as she clutched her head, her hands covered in blood, cowering in the corner. I deliberately video-called Serafina, showing off the piles of supplies behind me, the steaming hot chicken soup fresh from the pot on the table, and the running space heater. Serafina stared in disbelief, leaning closer to the camera with a greedy expression on her face. "How can you live so comfortably? Why didn't you come get me sooner? Do you have any idea how much I've suffered? Are you even human? What kind of mother watches her own child suffer like this? You're so selfish. Get over here and pick me up right now." She screamed herself hoarse, but my expression remained unchanged as I calmly said, "Serafina, where's your boyfriend's family?" The moment I mentioned those people, her expression turned frenzied. "They're all dead, cold and starving. Who could survive? It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Mom, come get me now. I'm begging you. I'm so hungry, so cold. I'm going to die. I want your good life too. I'll never talk back again. I'll obey everything you say. Just come quickly." Stark's blood smeared across her face, mixed with tears, made her look utterly terrifying. I silently hung up the phone. It wasn't the end yet. Serafina had a dream where her mother didn't let her pick up Stark, and that night Stark's family died in an avalanche. In the dream, she hated her mother intensely for this and, 1 month after the apocalypse began, tricked her mother outside and locked her out. Her mother pleaded desperately at the door to be let in. While she clung to Stark's photo, mourning their lost love, Mother died outside the door, her eyes wide open in death. Serafina suddenly opened her eyes, the sweat on her back soaking through her undergarments, clinging coldly to her skin. She grabbed her phone and frantically called Adeline. The moment the call connected, her voice wavered with guilt. "Mom, are you still coming to pick me up?" she stammered. "I had a dream, in which Mom, I'm so scared, can you come quickly?" My pupils constricted. It seemed she also knew about the events of the previous life. This was just as well. Why should I bear this memory alone? She might even think I was cold-blooded and heartless. Now that everyone knows the whole story, it's only fair she understands why she must die. I won't come again. Serafina, what's happening to you now is your retribution. That wasn't just a dream. It was the truth of what happened in our past life, for a boyfriend who didn't have an ounce of sincerity. You killed the mother who worked so hard to raise you. Our mother-daughter bond ended the moment you shut me out. For the sake of false love, You hurt the only person in this world who truly loved you. The isolation you face now is exactly what you deserve." Serafina shook her head frantically, clutching her phone tightly as she cried, "No, Mom, I didn't. I could never do such a thing. I'm your child. I love you the most. How could you not do it? Didn't you kill all 3 members of the Stark family?" Serafina seemed to have been hit where it hurt most. Her sobs stopped abruptly, replaced by furious screams. You actually knew everything. You knew what kind of life I was living. Why didn't you feel sorry for me? What kind of mother are you? I hate you. You deserve to die. What I did wasn't wrong, even though I thought I had moved on from my past life." Hearing her say these words still made my heart ache for a moment. She continued, "You're the one with a heart of a snake and a scorpion. You don't deserve to be a mother. Why did you save me? I might as well have died in that village. You never loved me, you hypocrite. You deserved to be killed by me." I couldn't help but be deeply shaken. She actually knew she wasn't my biological child. Seeing my pale face, my best friend snatched the phone and yelled, "You ungrateful wretch. Do you have any idea how much your mother has sacrificed for you? If not for you, she could have had her own biological child long ago, and her career could have reached greater heights. She gave up so much for you, and yet you dare call her hypocritical. If it weren't for her, you'd have died in some river long ago, eaten by fish. You shameless creature, just go die." My best friend hung up the phone fiercely, and I finally understood everything. So Serafina had known all along that she wasn't my biological child. No wonder she was so heartless. Showing no remorse for matricide, suddenly, I felt completely at peace. In this lifetime, she had lost everything, and even her life would soon fade away. In the last half-month, I never answered Serafina's calls again. Occasionally through the surveillance, I could only see her wrapped in thick blankets, curled up in the bedroom. Sometimes I could even see her chewing on some meat with bones. I didn't want to think too deeply about what it was. She grew increasingly deranged and thinner. Until 2 months later, when I checked the surveillance, she had also died in bed. I can't quite describe what I'm feeling. Heartache, maybe a little. My best friend turned off the surveillance and pulled me to the window. "Look, that's the rescue team sent by the government. We're about to be saved." She pointed at the soldiers in uniform downstairs and told me with a face full of joy, "Stop thinking about it. It's all in the past. We still have survival challenges ahead of us. This is the apocalypse. No time for you to wallow in sentimentality." 8. Her words made me laugh, and the gloom in my heart gradually dissipated. It's time to move forward. Story 2, the end of the world has arrived, and my boyfriend insists on going into the horde of zombies to save his childhood sweetheart. Just as I was about to dissuade him, suddenly a row of bullet comments appeared in front of me. "Miss, don't try to persuade him. He's a scumbag. He will definitely hate you to death in the future. Sister, respect other people's fates and let go of the complex of wanting to help others. Spoiler alert, he will push you out to feed the zombies later." My outstretched hands suddenly stopped. Instead, I patted my boyfriend on the shoulder and said, "Go ahead, I respect your choice." 1. Cyrus was taken aback for a moment, as if he had already expected that I would stop him. The look of disgust between his eyebrows and eyes hadn't faded yet, but he didn't have time to think about why I would say such a thing. Because his childhood sweetheart, Amara, was still crying and screaming outside. Without thinking, he turned around and ran out. As soon as he left, I locked the door firmly, afraid that he would attract the zombies. I quickly brought all the tables and chairs in the living room and blocked them behind the door. Just as I let out a sigh of relief, the bullet comments floated up again. "Ha ha ha, well done, you're someone who listens to advice. Woman, I admire you very much. You're just too stupid. You don't even know that you've been cuckolded." I feel sorry for the beauty for 1 second. "What? I've been cuckolded?" I looked out of the window. Amara somehow got a gun and fired a few shots into the horde of zombies. Then she weakly fell into Cyrus's arms. It really seems to be the case. After all, what kind of decent person would risk their life to find someone else's boyfriend when the zombie outbreak occurs? 2. Cyrus and I have quarreled more than once because of Amara. The first time was at Amara's welcome back party when she returned to the country. She drank a toast with Cyrus in front of me. She also looked at me provocatively and said, "Valeria, don't get me wrong. Cyrus and I are just friends. If we could be together, it wouldn't be your turn." Cyrus was rather embarrassed and explained to me at that time, Valeria, don't be angry. It's just a game. Then, amidst the jeers of the crowd, they tilted their heads back and drank that glass of wine. Under my expressionless gaze, as soon as Cyrus finished drinking, he immediately ran to my side and rubbed his face against my shoulder, saying, "The game is over, Valeria, let's go home." It seemed that he still felt a bit guilty at that time. I held back the words that I wanted to scold. I comforted myself that maybe I was thinking too much. The second time was in the middle of the night. After Cyrus received a phone call, he immediately got up, put on his clothes, and left. But at 7 o'clock in the morning, I saw a message in Amara's WeChat moments. "In the most dangerous moment, I know you will appear regardless of everything," and both she and I knew who this "you" was. She just deliberately showed it to me that day. I had a big fight with Cyrus. Cyrus explained, "I grew up with Amara. She doesn't know anyone in this city. Her parents asked me to take care of her. She's a young girl and was being followed in the early morning. How could I just ignore it?" "Oh, does it take you a whole night to take care of her? Did you even forget to go home?" Cyrus looked at me with a very strange look in his eyes and said, "Valeria, you weren't like this before." After this incident, we fell into a cold war. Then I learned that he helped Amara find a house and move, and Amara either shows up at our laboratory to bring him food one day or says that the water pipe in her house is broken and needs someone to fix it the next day. Finally, she would pretend to know nothing and look at me very exaggeratedly, saying, "Cyrus, won't Valeria be angry? Do you want to explain our relationship?" And Cyrus would just look at me and say coldly, "The innocent will be vindicated." But I can't tolerate any sand in my eyes. I immediately broke up with him, unexpectedly. He came to my house to ask me to get back together. Just at this time, an incident of an unknown patient attacking others occurred. It turned out that the zombies had already existed for a long time, but no one believed it. We were trapped here, in order to survive. Cyrus and I hurriedly stocked up on a batch of supplies before the zombies fully broke out. But I didn't expect that Cyrus would actually tell Amara our address. Nor did I expect that Amara would come to find him in such a severe situation. However, it's quite good, just in time. My supplies are not enough. One less person means one less mouth to feed. I really want to see how these two people will survive here. 3. Perhaps noticing my gaze, Cyrus looked up at the building. The bullet comments immediately floated over. "Damn it, these two scumbags should die quickly." Just thinking about the previous plot between them makes me feel sick. Upstairs, the male protagonist won't die so easily. Vocal, they won't come up and ask the female protagonist to take them in, will they? The female protagonist won't be so kind-hearted as to take them in, will she? If so, I will swear, impossible. Didn't you see that Valeria blocked the door tightly? I roughly sorted out my thoughts. I should be the female protagonist they mentioned. And Cyrus is the male protagonist they mentioned. If that's really the case, then Cyrus has the protagonist's halo and won't die so easily. I looked around the room. I've tried my best to stock up on supplies. I don't have the ability to foresee the future and prepare a lot of necessities for the end of the world in advance. So if I were to eat and use these supplies alone, I guess I might be able to last at most 3 months. But the most urgent situation right now is, if Cyrus brings Amara and tries to break in forcefully, not only will the supplies not be enough, but I might even lose my life. I have to think of a way, for, in the blink of an eye, Cyrus had already run away with Amara. They fired a few shots in other directions, attracting the attention of the zombies. After all, it's on the eve of the end of the world. The number of zombies isn't that large yet, and they aren't that smart either. They don't know to run towards the building. They managed to get away. But I was on high alert. Doesn't that mean they will run towards the unit building where I am? Now they are holding a gun in their hands, and I don't know how many bullets are left. Obviously, the bullet comments also thought of this. There were so many bullet comments that I almost couldn't see the content. They actually managed to run away. Not good. They are heading towards Valeria's building. Not good. They are holding a gun in their hands, according to Amara's vicious thoughts. Valeria is in danger. Calm down, sisters. With the door blocking them, it's useless for them to shoot. They can't open the door, and it might even attract the attention of the zombies. Fortunately, as long as Valeria doesn't open the door, she'll be fine. Sister, you're too happy too soon. They are climbing the window. My mind went blank instantly. Cyrus and Amara already know that I won't open the door for them, so they chose the second way. Since I didn't have that much time to prepare various supplies, I couldn't install explosion-proof, soundproof, and other thickened materials on the windows. I could only lock them with some ordinary locks. If they shoot at the window, they can definitely climb in through the window. Just as I realized this, I heard a knocking sound. Outside the window were their two faces. In a flash, I suddenly came up with a countermeasure. 5. Don't they think I won't open the window? I'll just open the window for them and catch them off guard. So I pretended to be very anxious and shouted at them, "Wait, I'll open the window right away, hold on." Sure enough, I saw the bullet comments floating in the air. "What? Are you crazy, Valeria? What are you doing? Don't you care about your life? Don't force me to swear. I'm really convinced. Damn it, I misjudged you. Even at this point, you're still a love-brained person." Hearing my words, Cyrus's expression relaxed. I saw him silently put away the gun. This is the moment. I rushed over, released the lock, and opened the window. At the critical moment, I picked up the fire extinguisher by the window and sprayed it at them. "Damn scumbag, you son of a bitch, get lost with your tea-loving girl. Ha ha ha, you still want me to save you two lunatics. In your next life, both of you can go to hell." With two screams, they fell down. I quickly locked the window again. But since my home is only on the second floor and there is a lawn below, with the buffering of the bushes, they didn't fall to their deaths. What a pity, but some of the zombies downstairs had already heard the commotion and were attacking them. I watched as Cyrus endured the pain, pulled up Amara, and quickly hid in the adjacent unit building. Putting down the fire extinguisher, I patted my chest and exhaled. The bullet comments appeared again. "Fine, fine, so this is how you play." I draw my sword and look around, feeling at a loss. The 20-meter-long broadsword I took out suddenly stopped, and then I peeled an apple. "Damn it, Valeria, how dare you play tricks on me?" Those who swore just now, apologize to Valeria. I won't apologize unless she apologizes to me first. She deceived me so badly. Woo-woo. However, what kind of decent person would keep a fire extinguisher at home? It's me, because I almost blew up the kitchen when I was cooking before. Considering my own safety, I bought one and put it at home. It was also when I saw the fire extinguisher that I thought of this method. If I had a head-on confrontation with them, I would definitely suffer losses. Just now, Cyrus had been holding the gun in his hand, but his finger wasn't on the trigger. I guessed that he might also have made two sets of preparations. If I didn't want to open the window, he would shoot. If I was willing to help, he would put down the gun. So I pretended to be friendly and confused him. But after this incident, he might want to kill me. Sure enough, my phone rang soon. Cyrus called me. 6. I don't know why he's calling me even though things have gotten this bad, but a piece of useful information is that he and Amara actually didn't die. I didn't want to answer. Just as I was about to hang up the phone, I saw the bullet comments. "Answer it. Why don't you answer it? Knowing your enemy and yourself can lead to victory in every battle." Yes. They often disgusted you before, Valeria. Give it back to them. I just like seeing the look on Cyrus's face when he wants to kill you but is helpless. Me, are you being polite? But I still answered the phone. Soon, Cyrus's panting voice came from the other end. "Valeria, I didn't expect you to be such a person. You're so vicious." I raised my eyebrows and said, "Yo, you're breathing so heavily. Are you going to die?" Cyrus was so angry that he hadn't spoken yet. Amara's voice came over instead. "Cyrus, I didn't know that Valeria hates me so much that she even wants to kill me. To be fair, I haven't offended her, have I?" After a pause, she continued, "But I also understand that women like her just can't stand their boyfriends having female friends. To take revenge on you, she's joking with the lives of two people. Cyrus, this is the person you still want to get back together with. I speak bluntly, don't mind. I just can't stand women who are petty and jealous at critical moments." "Is Amara crazy?" I twitched my lips and said, "Amara, I know you speak bluntly, but you can't be so foul-mouthed. You really are something. There are so many weapons in China, but you don't learn them. You just have to learn the sword. You don't learn the upper sword techniques but the lower ones. And if you don't practice the lower sword techniques, you practice being mean-mouthed. There are so many lower sword techniques, but you still have to learn the drunken sword. Any girl with a proper set of values wouldn't pester a guy who has a girlfriend. You're a fine one, you know the guy has a girlfriend, but you still rush to interfere. You want to play at being ambiguous but set up a chastity archway for yourself. You know he has a girlfriend but still get close. Do you want a beating or something? Cyrus interrupted me and said, Valeria, Amara just has a personality like a boy. You get so angry just because she tells the truth. How can you be such a person? I attacked him through the screen. Oh, that's right, it takes two to tango. Cyrus, what kind of good man drinks a toast with the opposite sex when he already has a girlfriend? What kind of good man sleeps at a female friend's place at night? If you post this kind of behavior on a certain social media platform, do you know how many floors you'll be scolded on? Also, this is just the way I am. If I were perfect in every way, would I still be interested in you? I've already said that she's a good friend I grew up with. Is it really necessary for you to be like this? Cyrus stopped panting, and his voice raised a few decibels. He's really pitiful. The world is about to end, and he's still so brainless. I sneered twice and said, even if she has no sense of boundaries, you're also an idiot. Didn't you just want to kill me with that gun? In your eyes, my self-defense is vicious. How many mothers do you have to talk like this? Do you want me to lend you a mother? You're so double-standard usually. You must have worn out your mother a lot, right? Before Cyrus could speak, I hung up the phone directly. The bullet comments above my head were quiet for a few seconds before popping up densely. Quade, my god, sister sure is so cool. I just like the female protagonist who can talk back. Valeria's scolding is great, so satisfying. Speak slower. I haven't finished writing it down yet. I really like this little mouth. Can you put it up for sale on a live streaming platform? Now that we've completely broken up with them, I always feel that it's not very safe to live here. 7. I think so too. It's still before the end of the world, and it's hard to say what will happen next. But I've also read novels about zombies. Generally, in this kind of situation, if things go well, the upper authorities will clean up the zombies in a few years. If not, it may take even longer. I'm not someone who was reborn, and I didn't stock up enough supplies before the zombies appeared. Even if Cyrus and Amara don't come to rob me, I can at most last for 3 months. The subsequent survival is the biggest problem. I let out a sigh and decided to eat something to fill my stomach before thinking about it. Unfortunately, I can't cook, so most of the things I bought are instant foods. So I cooked a pack of instant noodles and added fish balls, ham sausages, eggs, and some small bok choy. Just as I was happily eating, I received a message from Cyrus. We have nothing to eat. Can you give us some food considering that we used to date? Valeria, the supplies you hoarded also have my share. He just scolded me, and now he wants to ask me for something. Is he bipolar? Do I look like I would give it to him? There are zombies outside. Moreover, he insisted on helping me stock up on supplies himself. What does that have to do with me? I took a photo of the steaming instant noodles and sent it to him, but I don't have much food either. Amara came to find you regardless of everything. I thought you had other preparations. Cyrus, Valeria, do you have to talk like this? Me, no way, no way. So you really came here alone and risked your life for love. I envy your touching friendship. The bullet comments appeared. I'm laughing so hard I want to die. She's so sarcastic. Just like this, never be a saintly person at the end of the world. This is the consequence that Cyrus chose for himself. He really deserves it, that's for sure. At the end of the world, you can't even take care of yourself, and he's still dragging along a burden. It's so ridiculous. Valeria, definitely don't care about them. Cyrus is someone you can't trust. I'm not going to care. I've also come to realize that I should be in a novel, in the original plot. I dissuaded Cyrus from saving Amara. At that time, Cyrus should have said nothing, on the surface. He was waiting for rescue with me at the end of the world, but in reality, he was just enduring. Later, he realized that he actually liked Amara, so he hated me for not letting him save her. In order to take revenge on me, he pushed me out to feed the zombies. According to the plot, he should also look at me with a venomous gaze and say, Valeria, do you know how Amara died? You should also taste the feeling of being left without rescue, waiting to die alone, and being bitten by zombies. Well, that's exactly how it is, so I have to nip all the factors that threaten my life's safety in the bud. 8. I was afraid that the two of them would climb through the window again in the middle of the night. After finishing my meal, I quickly bundled up the cotton and the quilt and blocked them against the window. This way, even if they shoot to break the window, I'll have time to react. Moreover, there's a house on the top floor that I rented, and the lease hasn't expired yet. When this house was being renovated, I lived there to supervise the construction. On the day Cyrus came to find me, I had just prepared to move downstairs, at that time, in preparation for keeping a cat. I also installed a surveillance camera in the living room. I didn't tell Cyrus about this. Although he helped me move the supplies up and down, I still kept a backup plan for myself. After all, I can't trust a man who has changed his heart. The only downside is that the house upstairs doesn't have as many supplies stocked up as this house. But the good thing is that there was only my household on the top floor at that time. And since I'm a freelancer and often stay at home, I don't have too little food either. However, how can I take the current things upstairs? How much can I take? Will it alert the zombies? While I was thinking, someone in the property owners group spoke. Dear neighbors, is there anyone who can conveniently support some supplies? The house has just been renovated, and I have nothing at home when this happened. I know my request may be a bit unreasonable, but please believe that I have no ill intentions. I can buy them with money and place them at a designated location. I'll use a drone to pick them up. No one spoke in the group for a long time. I guess they're also worried. After all, people's hearts are unpredictable at the end of the world. But I suddenly had an idea and replied, there are zombies outside. I believe many people are willing to support, but they're afraid that the sound of opening the door will alert the zombies. As soon as I sent it, someone echoed, yes. We're just afraid of the zombies coming. It's not that we're unwilling. I want to ask, do the zombies have intelligence? Will they run into the building? Will they break down the door? Soon, someone replied, and it seemed that this person had done some research. I've watched foreign TV shows. In the early stage, zombies identify directions by sound and smell. They should have no intelligence now. And the number of them in our community isn't large. The unit door uses a password. And they can't get in yet. They also can't climb windows. So I have a suggestion. Why don't we unite? I guess everyone's supplies are only enough for a few months. How to survive in the future is a difficult problem. If we can help each other, at least we can last a little longer. I replied, +1. Someone followed with +2, +3. After counting the people who spoke, there were probably only dozens of households. There may be some who want to lie low and not speak up. Everyone can understand. But no one dared to report their room number, so for those who were willing to support supplies, the group asked everyone to put the supplies on the top floor at the designated time. Those who needed them could go to pick them up after everyone had finished placing them. I don't dare to trust others, but what I need is the opportunity to go to the top floor now. Moreover, the zombies have just broken out, and the elevator is still running, but I guess no one dares to take the elevator. It's a matter of life and death anyway. I'm going to take a gamble. 9. I quickly packed a batch of supplies in 2 large suitcases and filled my backpack as well. Then I secretly opened the door. On my floor, only my house has been renovated, so I'm not afraid. I'm just afraid of meeting people from other floors. But it's okay. If I meet someone, I'll say I'm going to offer support. At the beginning of the end of the world, even if human nature is evil, it won't be exposed at the very beginning. When I walked to the elevator, indeed no one was taking it because they were afraid of revealing their floor, but I dared to take it. I just took advantage of the time difference by monitoring the time when others in the group were placing supplies, and with the guidance of the bullet comments, I really felt like I had a cheat code. For example, these prompts: hide quickly, someone has walked from the stairs to the top floor, Valeria, you only have 10 seconds to rush to your room, go, wait a moment. Someone is about to come out. Press the elevator to stop on several floors to prevent exposure. Quad A, you must take the rice away. You can make porridge with it later. You can make porridge, right? Just put the rice in and add water. At such a tense moment, don't talk about how to eat. Hurry up and move the supplies. My heart is about to jump out. I moved back and forth at least 10 times before I almost finished moving everything, because I really didn't buy that much, after all. Everyone was grabbing supplies at that time. It was already very good that I could grab enough to last me for 3 months. I was so tired. I had just prepared to take a rest and then transport the last box of instant noodles away. Then I heard a gunshot, and then the sound of glass breaking. My brain tensed up instantly. I knew that it must be Cyrus and Amara who had come, and the next second, they would definitely tear off the quilt on the window and break in through the window. I didn't have time to react at all. I dropped my things and ran straight out the door. As soon as I opened the door, I heard a bang sound of a body hitting the ground. Damn it, how could he be so fast? I quickly closed the door, but I still heard a gunshot hitting the door. Cyrus wants to kill me. I ran towards the staircase like the wind. I even heard the sound of someone chasing behind me. If I'm caught, I'm done for. At this time, the bullet comments appeared. Quad A, I'm so nervous. Cyrus opened the door with a gun. This man is so vicious. He actually wants to kill Valeria. Oh my god, Valeria, run quickly and don't look back. I'm really scared. My heart is almost popping out. Aren't I the same? I didn't dare to delay for a second. I, who didn't exercise since I was a child, even ran to the 25th floor without taking a breath. Then I quietly closed the door and locked it, and fell on the sofa gasping for breath. Just as I was about to take a rest, the doorbell rang. 10. I didn't dare to breathe loudly. Could it be that Cyrus found his way up? But when he opened the door, I had already run several floors. His goal wasn't to kill me but to get the supplies. What's more, he and Amara had just climbed to my home on the second floor to avoid the zombies. They wouldn't dare to take the risk of coming up again and exposing themselves in front of others. I took off my shoes and tiptoed to the door. I looked through the peephole. It was a girl. I didn't know what she wanted to do, and I didn't dare to open the door. Maybe seeing that there was no response, she put the things at the door and left. I waited and waited until there was no sound outside. Then I quietly opened the door. I picked up the note she left on the ground. I'm from the 24th floor. I heard the commotion and came up to bring you supplies. It's not safe at the end of the world. Let's support each other. Come on. I let out a sigh of relief. I didn't dare to take the things, fearing that someone was deliberately testing me like this. But then I thought, I had already made a commotion when I was moving things back and forth. It wasn't very realistic to pretend that there was no one in the room, so I accepted the eggs and noodles she brought. After tidying up the things, I turned on my phone to check the surveillance. Cyrus and Amara were sitting in the living room eating instant noodles. I guess it's enough for them to eat for a week. But what about after a week? I opened the property owners group. I saw that someone had already sent a message. Did anyone hear the gunshots? I heard them several times today. Are they people who specifically robbed supplies? I saw through the window in the morning. A man went to save a woman, and he had a gun in his hand. I saw them climb to the second floor. And finally they fell down and ran away. Guys on the lower floors, pay attention to your safety. I thought about it and decided that I still had to tell everyone about this, so I sent a message. To be honest, I'm the one on the second floor who was robbed. That's my ex-boyfriend and his childhood sweetheart. They shot at me and tried to kill me, so I ran to another place. I'm relatively safe now, but there aren't many supplies in the room. I'm afraid that after they finish eating, they will take the gun and go to rob others. I hope everyone pays attention to their safety. I'm sorry for bringing potential dangers to everyone. As soon as I sent it, there were people in the group scolding them. Some were worried about their safety, and others were thinking of countermeasures, but no one scolded me. I thought someone would say that it was my fault for bringing them here. On the contrary, the neighbors were comforting me. It's not your fault. I've really never seen such a brazen man. He's always looking at other things while having something in his hand. Isn't he disgusting? Yeah, to put it nicely, she's his childhood sweetheart. To put it bluntly, she's his ambiguous partner. What's she pretending for? They have a gun. Everyone has to unite. In the group, there was a harmonious atmosphere. Immediately, the men spontaneously went out, brought all the heavy things from their homes, and directly blocked the door of my home on the second floor, in order to prevent them from coming out. If they want to go out, they have to climb out of the window. From the third to the fifth floors, no one lives there. For the floors above the sixth floor, anti-theft windows have been installed. Even if the gun breaks the glass, they can't get in. Someone also locked the unit door. At least we in this building are temporarily safe. I let out a sigh of relief, just as I was about to go to bed. Cyrus sent me another message. 11. Damn it, I forgot to block him. I looked at the message he sent. Valeria, do you really want me to die that much? Also, do you really think you can run away? Suddenly, My back felt cold. Could it be that he can also see the bullet comments? When this thought popped up, I was almost out of breath. I told myself to calm down. So what if he can see them? No one in the bullet comments has ever sent the information that I live on the 25th floor. Even if he can really see them, he only knows that I'm in this building. I didn't reply, and his message popped up again. I really misjudged you. You turned a blind eye to my plight. You have a heart of stone. You will pay the price for your choice. It's really ridiculous. The bullet comments were more excited than me. What kind of scumbag man is this? The female protagonist let you go to save someone, but you want to kill her. If she stops you, you want to feed her to the zombies, anyway. It's never your fault, right? You're really a hypocrite. I really want to swear. What did the female protagonist do wrong to be involved with this scumbag? He's such an ungrateful person. Sisters, I'm really afraid that this man will find Valeria. I'm worried that Valeria will die at the hands of this scumbag instead of being bitten to death by zombies or starving to death. I will really be so angry if that happens. Yeah, I have to think of a way. 12. The next day, I replied to him. I've already left supplies for you. Be content. Thinking about it, I was still angry, so I sent another message. Yo-yo, you're so loyal. Have you ever thought that if it were you, Cyrus, who were in the horde of zombies, do you think Amara would come to save you? He sent, Amara isn't a cold-blooded person like you. I laughed to death. Let's just wait and see. I'm also glad that I didn't have enough time back then and left some food there. With food, they will probably stay quiet for a few days. If they really have no way out and are pushed to the limit, they might cause even greater harm. So I saw in the surveillance that after the two of them had enough to eat and drink these days, they conspired about how to rob supplies and how to force me out, and they even prepared to shoot me dead. As they were chatting, their mouths unconsciously got closer. What followed was something indescribable. My eyes are soiled, but I wasn't angry. Because I had indeed expected that there must be something between them, but the bullet comments were furious and sent out a lot of words that needed to be muted. I couldn't even see them clearly. However, instead of waiting for them to take revenge, I waited for several jeeps. The people in the cars had hot weapons and quickly killed dozens of zombies in the community. Then they stationed in the community. Many people in the property owners group started discussing who these people were. Could they be the military? But I didn't think so. They should be a team that specifically came to rob supplies. After all, not everyone can react quickly and prepare sufficient supplies. And if the zombies can't be eliminated in a short time, survival is the biggest problem. At this time, there will definitely be people who are bold and equipped to search for supplies everywhere. I quietly looked down from behind the curtains, while thinking about what to do. I found that Cyrus and Amara jumped down. They walked towards that group of people. 13. I blindly guessed that Amara is taking Cyrus to defect. Did Amara get the gun from this group of people? These people don't look like good people. What should we do? Won't they go to rob things floor by floor? I'm really fed up. One crisis hasn't been resolved, and another one has come. When they went down, I'm sure that the one they will target is definitely Valeria. Sure enough, everyone guessed right. I heard someone downstairs shouting through a loudspeaker, "Who is Valeria? I heard that you hoarded a lot of supplies. We all have nothing to eat. Would you like to support us a little?" They kept shouting, and I could only force myself to stay calm. There must be a way. I opened my phone and saw messages in the property owners group. Valeria. Is that the young lady who was cheated on by her boyfriend? You have to be careful and don't expose yourself. This group of people should be the kind who specifically commit all sorts of evil. There is a great safety hazard in the community now. They are carrying weapons. If they break into our homes by force, I'm afraid our lives will be in danger. We can't just sit here and wait for death. Surprisingly, they didn't blame me. And they didn't even use moral coercion to make me go out and sacrifice myself for everyone. A touch of gratitude welled up in my heart. As my brain was rapidly working, a sudden idea popped into my mind. I quickly typed, "They have only eliminated the zombies in our community." I remember that some property owners in the group said they have drones, and some said that zombies identify directions by smell and sound. I have a suggestion. Can we use drones to lure the zombies here from other places? Immediately, someone responded, "I agree. Compared with the zombies, I think the danger posed by that group of people downstairs is greater." Yes, as long as we don't go out, the zombies won't threaten our lives for the time being, but these guys are armed and have stationed here. Even if Valeria goes down to give them supplies, they won't spare the other property owners in this community. Everyone was sensible. They acted very quickly, after receiving the supported supplies. The property owners who had drones immediately stepped forward. I heard that something bloody was needed to attract the zombies. The young lady on the 24th floor said shyly that she just got her period and could provide support. She also comforted me and told me not to be afraid. She had given me supplies before, and I really love her to death. 2 drones were sent out. On the other hand, as soon as the drones went out, I heard several gunshots of bang bang bang. You won't make a sound, huh? Then don't blame us for searching floor by floor. Don't blame us, residents on the first floor. It's this Valeria who wants you to die first. In order to stall for time, I quickly dialed Cyrus's phone number, 14. I can give you the supplies, but I have only one request. As soon as I finished speaking, someone on the other side asked, "What's the request?" They seemed to think that the people in our community were easy prey for them. That's why they answered the phone. Wanting to feel my struggle before death, this should be very interesting to them. As they wished, I pursed my lips, and my voice was trembling. Don't kill me." At this time, Amara snatched the phone. "Don't kill you, Valeria. You didn't say that when you wanted me to die." She finally found another opportunity to mock me, so she definitely wouldn't let it go. I silently looked at the group messages and listened to her continue speaking. Some women are full of love and romance in their heads. For the sake of a man, they can ignore the lives of others and are full of female rivalry and revenge. When it comes to a critical moment, they are as timid as mice and submissive. Isn't that right, Cyrus? I've told you before that this kind of girl is very scheming, unlike me, who traveled all the way to find you, to save you, dared to kill zombies, and dared to climb and jump through windows, and would protect you. You're so stupid that you were fooled around by such a woman. I didn't say anything. I was too lazy to listen to her babbling. Cyrus took over the conversation. "Valeria, you should sincerely apologize to Amara. Of course, you also need to apologize to me. Take out all the supplies, and I'll ask them to spare you. But you really went too far before. You can fend for yourself later. Apologize." I directly lashed out at them on the phone. "Cyrus, did you get gutter oil in your head? Oh my God. Do you think that after hearing what you said, I should kneel down and kowtow to you gratefully for you to be satisfied? How can there be such a kind and lovely person like you? I almost didn't recognize you. I thought you were a hypocrite like a white lotus in a pond, pretending so much." Amara, you always have to retort 3 sentences when others say 1. If your mouth is so idle, why don't you go to the public toilet and lick the toilets one by one clean? Then you can be something that everyone praises. You keep saying, "these women," all day long. What's the matter? Aren't you a woman? Did you pop out of a stone? Then you're so amazing. You must have grown up all by yourself, right? I heard the 2 of them gnashing their teeth. "Valeria, you go and die." Hey, do you believe it? Even if you 2 die, I won't die, because I had been observing the property owners group all the time. The property owners sent the footage taken by the drone to everyone in the group. Sure enough, there were still a lot of zombies wandering around in the community 2 streets away. The drone quickly flew among them and then guided them to run towards us all the way. They want to kill me. Let's see if they can avoid being surrounded by the zombies. 15. There were 2 hissing sounds on the other end of the phone, and then the sound cut off. Immediately after, there were countless gunshots. I lifted a corner of the curtain and watched quietly. Weapons are now as scarce as supplies, but there are even more zombies than before. Those people in the jeeps made a decision, which was to run away as the best option, so while shooting as cover, they quickly got into the cars. There was only 1 seat left, and Amara quickly sat in it. Even from such a height, I heard her heartrending cry, "Cyrus, I believe you don't want me to die. Don't worry, I'll come to save you." She pushed Cyrus out. Then the car drove away quickly. That is to say, she left Cyrus in the horde of zombies. "Ha ha ha, Cyrus, you finally got what you deserved today." I once asked him if Amara would be willing to save him when he had to make a choice. At that time, he replied to me that Amara wasn't a cold-blooded person like me. Hey, who would have thought that she abandoned him and left? The bullet comments were also going crazy. Ha 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 ha. It makes me so happy to watch. Cyrus really deserves it, damn. It's really like lifting a rock only to drop it on your own foot. The retribution came so quickly. I mean, can we set off fireworks to celebrate? I can't wait. It's just a pity that that bad woman Amara ran away like this. Upstairs, don't worry, there are all men in that car, although I don't want to say it, but really, her ending may be even worse than being fed to the zombies. It seems so, if there are no more supplies later. She might even be eaten. Then what about Cyrus? 16. At the moment, Cyrus was shooting at the zombies with a gun. Soon, there were no bullets left in the gun. I saw him running and running. Human potential can be fully unleashed in dangerous moments. He actually jumped onto the air conditioner outdoor unit in one leap and then quickly climbed into my home through the broken window on the second floor. The male protagonist really has a strong life force, but now one thing is very clear, that is, Cyrus no longer has a gun. He poses no threat to everyone for the time being. The property owners group was cheering. It's really a hearty counterattack, that's for sure. I looked down from the window, and it was more exciting than watching a 3D movie. But now there's a problem. Valeria's boyfriend didn't die. Do you guys want him to die? Yes. This question really embarrassed many people. After all, it's the grudge between him and me, and the neighbors are all so nice. It would be too cruel to just let him die. While I was thinking, Cyrus suddenly called me. His protagonist Halo is so strong that he didn't even lose his phone in such a dangerous situation. I just happened to want to hear what he had to say. Looking at him lying on the living room floor in the surveillance, gasping for breath, I heard his labored breathing on the phone. Valeria, I'm sorry. Yo, the sun is rising from the west. Didn't you just ask me to apologize to you? Now you're saying sorry to me. What kind of act is this? He choked up. I misjudged people. I misjudged Amara. I sneered. One moment you say I have a heart of stone, and the next moment you say you misjudged Amara. If there's something wrong with your eyes, go and get them treated. Why are you talking to me about it? He ignored my mockery and lowered his voice. I should have listened to you. I knew I shouldn't have gone to save her. Do you know that when she was in such danger, I risked everything to save her, but just now, when the zombies came, she pushed me into the horde of zombies. What do you think of that? What could it be? This is love. I was speechless. As he spoke, he even started crying. Valeria, I have a bond with her that goes back to our childhood. How could she be such a person? Here we go again. One moment he's talking about me, and the next moment he's talking about someone else. Why doesn't he talk about himself being wishy-washy and hovering between two women? If he had just continued to be a scumbag after breaking up with me and not come to beg for a reconciliation, I might have thought a little more of him. But what happened? He couldn't let go of me on one hand, and on the other hand, he was intimate with Amara. What kind of extremely crazy person is he? Valeria, I'm sorry. Can we start over? I promise I'll listen to you. Weren't we fine before Amara came back? He actually had the nerve to say that. He couldn't even tell a flirtatious woman apart. A man who could be easily lured away by others. Let whoever wants him have him. Does he really think I'm a garbage recycling station? I was so angry that I almost laughed. Where do you get the nerve to think we can start over? Do I need you in my life? Then he gave a bitter laugh. Valeria, you want me to die so much, when I was going out to save her. You deliberately didn't try to persuade me, right? I immediately got angry. Listen to what you're saying. Does it even make sense? It seems that your IQ was cut off along with your umbilical cord. If I had tried to persuade you, you would definitely have hated me for not saving her. If I didn't persuade you, you would say I'm cold-blooded and heartless, so you can say all the nice things, right? But he seemed not to understand what I was saying and was still talking nonsense. Valeria, it's all my fault anyway, but remember, I actually love you. I feel like I can't hold on anymore. I was too lazy to scold him, but the bullet comments were harsher than me. If you can't hold on, it is recommended that you just go and die. Why didn't he say he loved Valeria when he was having sex with someone else? It's really disgusting. It's like disgusting's mother opened the door for disgusting. It's disgusting to the extreme. What kind of false sentiment are you pretending to have here? You're just a crazy person. Ugh, I'm going to throw up. I'm really speechless. Even Tofu has a brain. But he doesn't. Did you see that he loves Valeria? Why didn't he say he loved her when he was discussing with Amara how to shoot her dead? Is he going to die or not? If he doesn't die, I'm going to send a razor blade to the author. 17, anyway, I don't want to save him. There are still some uneaten instant noodles in that room, which are enough for him to eat for a few days. From now on, he can just fend for himself. This was the sentence he said to me when he asked me to apologize to them. Now it's his turn. It really is a case of what goes around comes around. I was so tired after a day that I fell asleep as soon as I lay down. When I woke up the next day, I saw the message Cyrus sent to me again. Valeria, see you in the next life. I frowned, with a look of, subway, old man, mobile phone. Then I was so disgusted that I almost couldn't eat my breakfast. So I turned on the phone surveillance and found that Cyrus had turned into a zombie. Obviously, the bullet comments also saw it. Ha 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 ha, he really deserves it. The retribution came so quickly. Author, you really understand us. As soon as we said we wanted him to die, he died right away. Thank you, my mammary glands are unblocked today. It's so satisfying. But he still turned into a zombie to harm people. Why didn't he just starve to death? So that's what he meant by, can't hold on, yesterday. But I wasn't happy. He was still wandering around in the living room of my home. I quickly sent this matter to the property owners group. The guy with the drone took action again. This time, someone tearfully contributed the duck blood that was used to make hot pot. Finally, the zombified Cyrus was lured out of the window. I looked at Cyrus, who was like a walking corpse outside the window, sighed, and slowly closed the window. 18. Thanks to the fact that our dear motherland didn't give up. Although power outages, water cutoffs, and internet disconnections were the norm, but there were often airdrops. At first, there were seeds of vegetables and fruits, then there were some daily necessities. After all, when we were trapped at home during the previous epidemic, everyone had developed the skill of planting. Cyrus and I had quarreled more than once because of Amara. Small, some people were even so bored that they went to the rooftop to build sheds for planting and cultivate new varieties, and the property owners in our building were united as one, sharing and helping each other. We managed to get through 3 years together. We endured until the zombies were gone. We endured until the red flag was fluttering in the air. Until we heard the exciting broadcast declaring that the end of the world crisis was officially lifted. On that day, I asked everyone to help move away the obstacles at the door of the house on the second floor. The moment I opened the door, a large amount of dust rose in the air. I found Cyrus's phone. After charging his phone fully, I saw Amara's ending. After she left, she burned, killed, and looted with those people and obtained some supplies. But later, the supplies became fewer and fewer, and the weapons also became fewer and fewer. They robbed a villa in the suburbs and moved in, subsequently. Amara became their plaything. She finally sent a message asking Cyrus to save her, but by then, Cyrus had long since turned into a zombie. Maybe she even shot at him. Finally, she stopped sending messages. I think her ending must have been miserable. I endured with everyone until the spring came with blooming flowers, but she and Cyrus just had to court disaster. In the end, they brought the disaster upon themselves and couldn't be saved. It was all retribution, on the grass in the community. Everyone held hands and sang songs, celebrating the arrival of another spring. Story 2. I was reborn 7 hours before the apocalypse began. As soon as I opened my eyes, I found myself standing at the door of my ex-husband's house, ringing the doorbell. On this day in my previous life, I had taken my daughter to visit my ex-husband's house to see our son. We ended up trapped in a shopping mall for 2 months, and eventually, weakened by illness and hunger, we were killed by zombies. In this life, I was determined not to let that tragedy repeat itself. Mom, why hasn't Dad opened the door yet? A familiar childish voice brought me back to reality. I looked down to see my 5-year-old daughter, Violet. I glanced around in confusion. Weren't the children and I hiding in a small room in the mall? Why were we now at my ex-husband's doorstep? Before I could figure it out, the door opened, and there stood my ex-husband, Matthew, just as immaculate and put together as ever. The divorce hadn't seemed to affect him at all. Unlike me, it had taken a long time for me to move on, even though I was the one who had initiated it. Daddy, Violet exclaimed joyfully as she hugged Matthew. Matthew picked her up and kissed her. Did you miss Daddy? Yes, Violet nodded vigorously. Then a small figure dashed out from the living room and jumped into my arms. It was my son, Noah. Mom, sis, I've been waiting for you. Why did you take so long, holding my children's tender bodies? I realized I had been reborn on the very day the apocalypse was to begin. "Come in," Matthew said calmly, stepping aside. In my previous life, I had declined his invitation to enter, choosing instead to wait at the door while he gathered Noah's clothes and water bottle. Then, I took the children straight to the mall for some fun. We were eating dinner there at 5 o'clock when the apocalypse struck, but this time, I walked in. Stepping into the home where I had once lived with love and anticipation for 4 years. After the divorce, Noah lived with Matthew while I took Violet back to my parents' city. Our families usually connected through video calls, with the children's grandparents managing most of the interactions. Matthew and I were merely figures in the background, rarely communicating. This was the first time we had met face to face in 2 years. Once inside, Noah excitedly showed Violet his new toys. They were twins. Matthew was busy preparing items for Noah to take out for play. While I sat down on the living room sofa to call my parents, I urged them to go to the countryside to my grandparents' house, to stock up on daily necessities, and to fortify the yard without leaving the house. It had been a long time since my parents had visited their old home, and my suggestion prompted them to decide to go back. Then I managed to contact my former in-laws, who were on a cruise. They would not reach shore for another 7 to 8 hours. Uncertain if zombies would appear on the cruise ship, I advised them to return to their room before 5 o'clock, under the pretense of finding a quiet place to video chat with their grandchildren. "Lucy, your dad and I won't be back from our trip for another half a month. You and Violet stay and enjoy yourselves for a while longer. Don't rush back," my mother-in-law advised over the phone. I responded softly, after hanging up. Matthew came out with a packed bag. "The nanny took a leave today, and I have to be out late for work. The kids can stay with you at the hotel. Their change of clothes are all in there." I didn't reach for the bag. Instead, I looked at him and said firmly, "I'm staying here today, and I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you." In my past life, I couldn't take care of 2 children alone during the apocalypse. His place was a large apartment in a high-end community with a private elevator and strong privacy. The apartment was spacious, with a terrace, and as long as we had enough supplies and secured the stairs and elevator, we could hold out for a long time. So, I decided to stay here and to keep him here as well. This is the only way my children have a better chance of survival. After I said this, he looked at me silently without speaking, just when I thought he would refuse. He picked up his phone and called his secretary. "Postpone all meetings today." "Yes, I won't be coming to the office. I have something to handle today." I was surprised by how quickly he agreed to keep me around. He usually seemed indifferent whenever I talked to him about anything. After hanging up the phone, he sat down beside me. "Tell me, what happened?" I didn't tell him that I had been reborn because he would never believe it. "You'll know by 5 p.m. You stay home with the kids." "I need to go out for a bit." "I was going out to buy supplies." "Where are you going?" "I can have the driver take you." "No need to trouble yourself. I'll call you later. Just keep an eye on your phone." After saying that, I took the keys to the SUV and left. The fewer people involved in what was coming, the better, so I didn't want to involve the driver. 3. It's now 10:30 a.m., 6.5 hours until the end of the world. I drove to the mall where I had hidden with my children in my previous life. Although this place was a nightmare for me, I braced myself and entered because it was close to Matthew's house and had a wide selection of goods, allowing me to quickly purchase almost everything I needed. I first went to the supermarket and bought rice, flour, oil, and various vacuum-packed foods, filling up the entire car before returning to the underground garage. Then I called Matthew. "I'm in the basement. Hurry and bring down the storage room's trolley. I can't leave the kids alone." "What is it?" "I'll contact the property management to help you." I could hear the children's playful noises from Matthew's side. The siblings sounded very happy. This further strengthened my resolve to do everything possible to protect them. "Don't tell anyone, just come down. The kids will be fine. They can look after themselves." I used to think a 5-year-old needed constant care until those 2 months in my previous life taught me just how sensible and strong my children were. If it hadn't been for both of them falling ill at the same time, we could have lasted even longer. 5 minutes later, Matthew appeared with the trolley. He frowned slightly when he saw how much I had bought. "We have a lot of food at home. Why did you buy so much?" "This is more than enough for a year." "It's best if it lasts more than a year. I told you, you'll know by 5 p.m. Let's hurry and move this." I started loading the items onto the trolley, and he helped as well. After unloading everything, I got back into the car to continue buying supplies. Matthew asked, "What else do you need to buy?" "I've already told you we have everything at home." I looked at him. "I'm buying what we need to survive." This time at the supermarket, I bought only water, paying people to load it into the car. The SUV had plenty of space for it. Matthew saw how much water I bought. His lips twitched, possibly because I was an outsider now, and it wasn't easy for him to say much. However, I could read the thought, "Is she sick?" in his eyes. I went back and forth 3 times buying water, and Matthew was sweating profusely from carrying it all. "Let's go have lunch. It's already 1:30 p.m. I've ordered takeout," he said. I shook my head. With only a little over 3 hours left until the end of the world, I couldn't afford to waste a second. This time at the mall, I bought all sorts of fuel, batteries, and lighting equipment from the supermarket, so much so that the manager came over during checkout. "Ma'am, it's very dangerous to store all these fuels together. May I ask what you plan to use them for?" They were probably worried I was planning something harmful to society. I replied, "The company is organizing an outdoor barbecue soon. These are needed for that." The manager smiled. "It looks like your company has quite a few people. Then, I'll arrange for someone to help you load them into your car." I returned to the garage and called Matthew, but he was continuously busy on another call, so I had to carry some of the fuel upstairs myself. When I entered, I heard Matthew on the phone dealing with some work-related issues. Seeing the fuel in my hands, he hung up and coldly said, "Lucy, I didn't want to make a big deal about what happened earlier. But do you realize how dangerous the things you're handling are? Do you know there are children at home?" "I know." I walked past him, carrying the items. "If everything goes as planned, I'll move all the stuff I bought today out by 5 p.m., leaving nothing behind to bother you. I wish the previous life was just a nightmare, and I hope the apocalypse never comes." "So, you came here just to stir things up," he said, holding back his anger. "Sir, it's only 3.5 hours until 5. It won't take much of your time. I really can't afford to waste time." I put down the fuel canisters and started to pull the cart out. He grabbed me. "I don't want our meetings to always start like this. Sit down, let's talk." I nodded. "We can talk any way you like, but after 5 p.m. First, help me bring up the fuel." He looked at me silently, clearly restraining himself. The elevator arrived, and I walked straight in. He hesitated for a moment but eventually followed. It's hard to imagine. Before the divorce I always followed his lead. Now that we're divorced, he seems willing to follow me, even when I'm being somewhat unreasonable. We stood quietly in the elevator, close enough to hear each other breathe, until another call came through. He glanced at it and hung up, but I saw the caller ID. It was Audrey, Matthew's eternal crush, and me. I resemble Audrey quite a bit. For the past 4 years, I've been nothing but her stand-in in Matthew's heart. I thought these soap opera-like plots only existed in novels, but life has shown me it's more melodramatic and more painful than fiction. So, knowing the truth, I immediately filed for divorce. Matthew signed the papers calmly, without a hint of apology. But now I don't want to dwell on that. Many people will die in this horrific viral outbreak. I need to be fully alert to fight against it all. At 2 o'clock, I went straight to the clothing section of the mall. It's already autumn, and soon it will be colder. The kids grow fast. It's time to prepare winter clothes. The mall always has off-season clothes available. I quickly picked up down jackets, thermal pants, boots, and even underwear for both adults and children, and went to check out. Back at Matthew's place, I saw Audrey. She had come over and was talking to Matthew. She was clearly startled to see me there. I calmly put down my things and turned to go buy groceries and medical supplies. "Lucy," Audrey stopped me. "I just came to drop off a document. Don't misunderstand. I'm leaving now." "I'm not misunderstanding, and I don't have time to," I replied. "You guys talk." Then to Matthew, I said, "There are still some things in the basement. Don't forget to bring them up." Matthew looked at me intently, with scrutiny and an emotion I couldn't quite understand, probably upset because my presence interfered with his time with Audrey. Well, interference or not, I had been an interference for 4 years. Now it's 3:30 in the afternoon, only an hour and a half left. I went to buy household and medical supplies last: toothpaste, toothbrushes, masks, disinfectant, toilet paper, sanitary pads, garbage bags. I filled several large bags. After buying household goods at the supermarket, I headed straight for the pharmacy. In the previous life, Noah and Violet had simultaneous high fevers until they convulsed. Their tiny bodies were burning hot in my arms, with no water, food, or medicine. I could only watch helplessly as their lives slowly slipped away. Why are you crying? Are you feeling unwell? Do you want to sit down for a while? The clerk asked. I touched my face, realizing I was crying without noticing. I just realized that the pain brought on by memories had already left my face covered in tears. Thank you, I'm fine. I need some medicine for my child's cold and fever, in addition to cold and anti-inflammatory medicines. I also purchased various vitamins and medications for treating bruises and potential illnesses. When I finally drove down to the parking garage, Matthew was already there waiting, which was a bit of a surprise. Neither of us spoke. We just loaded the items onto a small cart and then headed back together. Audrey had already left. Noah and Violet, tired from playing, were asleep. I checked the time. It was 5 minutes to 5. Just the last few minutes remaining. I walked to the window. Some children were playing in the neighborhood, their laughter filling the air. Their relatives sat nearby, chatting idly and occasionally reminding the kids not to wander off too far. I didn't know Audrey was going to come. Matthew said, approaching me. I didn't respond, just silently watched the world outside. Dark clouds had unknowingly layered the sky, blocking the sun's light, gradually dimming into a gloomy, suffocating dusk. You said we could talk after 5, and now it's 5 o'clock. So, he stopped abruptly, his expression turning grave as he stared at a staggering figure downstairs. It was a man in a white shirt, who stood stiffly for a moment before wildly charging at the children. Adults screamed trying to stop him, but he began ferociously biting the very people trying to restrain him. Matthew immediately took out his phone to call the police, but before he could finish, continuous screams erupted outside. Zombies started flooding into the neighborhood, and those bitten began turning into zombies themselves, attacking any living beings nearby. I slowly closed my eyes. The moment had finally arrived. The screams outside continued relentlessly. Those still alive desperately ran towards nearby buildings, while other residents stood at their windows in terror, some crying, some on the phone, though those calls might never go through. Just like the last time I called Matthew, he was the first person I thought of then. I repeatedly dialed his number, but no one answered. Perhaps he was taking care of others, maybe his phone wasn't with him. Or perhaps he had died at the onset of the apocalypse. Don't stand here. Matthew pulled me away from the window and pressed the electric switch to close all the curtains in the house. His grip on my wrist was tight. I could feel his body trembling, yet his demeanor remained calm. Did you know all this was going to happen, which is why you bought so much stuff? He realized. I nodded, sharing with him the details of my rebirth. I told him that the disaster would persist, that rescue would be challenging and we could only rely on ourselves. That in a cramped room in the mall, I and the children struggled for 2 months, but ultimately didn't make it through, so I'm not just lingering here on purpose. I couldn't find a better place, and as the father of our children, you have a responsibility to protect them. I didn't want him to misunderstand. If we could survive this disaster, we would start our lives anew, so it was better to clear things up. Did you call me back then? He asked me. I remained silent, not answering. He looked at me and scoffed self-deprecatingly. You despise me that much? I was taken aback. He usually didn't show his emotions so openly. Call your parents, check on them, he said, then picked up his phone and dialed his parents. They were on a ship, blissfully unaware of what had happened, which was a stroke of luck in itself. My parents had already made it to the countryside. It might be because the countryside is sparsely populated, but there haven't been any cases of zombies there yet. You make it sound like rabies. Don't worry, it'll be under control soon, my dad said, still unaware of the severity of the situation, but he would soon know, as the news was already reporting it. I repeatedly urged them not to go outside and to stay safely at home. Matthew called his company, but no one answered for a long time. The outcome was predictable. The TV news was reporting infection situations from various places, and the government was advising everyone to take shelter nearby and wait for rescue. But I knew how difficult rescue could be. I had heard gunshots during the 2 months I spent in the mall, and in the end, Even those who risked their lives to save us turned into zombies. However, these weren't the most terrifying things. The most terrifying were the extreme actions people might take in desperation. Some chose to end their lives, while others chose to vent their anger by harming others. At that time, the darker side of human nature was magnified. I had seen it firsthand. It was a nightmare that lingered. As night fell, fear spread through the city, many places caught fire, and amidst the flickering flames, people were running and zombies were chasing. Noah and Violet woke up and, seeing the situation outside, didn't understand what was happening. They thought it was just a fire and urged us to call the firefighters quickly. In their previous life, having witnessed the bloody scene, they were terrified into silence. This time, they were spared that cruel side and had their parents by their side. During dinner, Matthew and I had little appetite, but the twins ate with relish. Seeing the two children happy, my heart finally felt a bit better. After dinner, I carefully bathed the twins. Water and power would soon be cut off, and it would become difficult to have a proper bath. After bathing them, I read picture books with them and put them to sleep, exhausted. I drifted off to sleep too. I dreamed that I was back in that cramped, dark room. I heard sounds of fighting, pleading, and footsteps outside. The footsteps approached my direction, accompanied by the grating sound of an iron rod dragging on the ground. The sound stopped at the door. The doorknob turned, and I gripped the knife in my hand tightly. The door opened, and a blurry figure appeared. I used all my strength to stab towards his heart. The next second, my hand was firmly grasped, and I saw the man's face. It was Matthew, looking worried. But how could Matthew be in the mall? I suddenly woke up to find Matthew right in front of me, his hand firmly holding mine. It was a blend of dream and reality. "How did you get in?" I asked him, pulling my hand away. He whispered, not wanting to wake the children, "You were having a nightmare, so I came to check on you." His explanation didn't make sense. How could he know I was having a nightmare unless he was there while I was dreaming? I was covered in cold sweat, and my heart was pounding terribly from the nightmare. I went to the living room, poured myself a glass of water, and drank it to calm down a bit. The outside world was still chaotic. Many homes in the neighborhood still had their lights on. People were anxiously making phone calls, and some were crying heartbreakingly. "Did you dream about zombies?" Matthew asked, standing next to me. "Yeah," I replied. But in truth, it wasn't zombies I had dreamed of, but the terrifying human nature I had witnessed in my previous life. Unable to sleep again due to the nightmare, I went to the living room to sort through the supplies we had bought today. I opened the storage room, and indeed, as Matthew had said, there were a lot of items. In addition to rice and flour, there were red beans, green beans, dates, mushrooms, vermicelli, cured meat, and even various agricultural tools and seeds for flowers and plants. I also found some vegetable seeds that were 2 to 3 years old. I wondered if they could still grow vegetables. As I was packing up, I heard footsteps at the door on the other side. The storage room connects to the evacuation staircase, and someone was coming up, right outside the door. I held my breath and slowly moved closer. Peering through the peephole, I saw a slender young woman standing outside. She sensed my presence, turned abruptly, and lunged at the door, her pale gray eyes staring through the peephole. She had turned into a zombie. Instinctively, I stepped back, bumping into Matthew, who had also entered the room. He picked up a shovel and approached the door. Peering through the peephole, he said, "It's Michael's wife." Michael, our neighbor across the hall, was about 30 years old. When Matthew and I divorced, Michael was still single. He always said he would only marry the person he loved most, to ensure a fulfilling life. It seems he had found someone he loved, but tragically, his wife could never return home. We carefully backed out and spent the night in the living room. By the next morning, the woman was gone. In the morning, we contacted our parents. Thankfully, the cruise ship they were on was free from the virus, proving that the outbreak was largely on land. There were some zombies at my parents' place too, fortunately in manageable numbers, so they were still safe. "Lucy, don't be scared. There's plenty of food in the storage room, enough to last 2 months. By then, the virus should be under control, and things will get better," my mother-in-law reassured me. My father-in-law also reminded Matthew, "Take good care of your wife and kids, make sure they stay safe." I worried about these two elderly people, although the cruise ship was safe for now. Without docking there would be no resupply. I wasn't sure how long they could last. After hanging up the phone, we had a simple breakfast. The kids played with toys in their bedroom while Matthew and I started organizing supplies. He sorted items in the storage room, while I filled every container with water. Even the bathtub was full. While doing all this, I kept an eye on the outside. In just a few hours, the streets were filled with aimlessly wandering zombies. Shots were fired sporadically throughout the city, intense but unable to make progress, and eventually, it was unclear whether the people retreated or the rescuers were sacrificed as the gunfire dwindled to silence. Around 3 in the afternoon, a helicopter flew to the building opposite ours, likely belonging to a wealthy resident of our complex. The helicopter lowered a ladder to evacuate the people on the rooftop, but they were slow to climb and the zombies, attracted by the noise, swarmed up. In the end, the people weren't saved, and the helicopter crashed in an explosion. The blast shattered some of the glass in our building, and the windows in my living room were also affected, cutting my arm with flying shards. Fortunately, the wound was shallow. Matthew and the kids, alarmed by the noise, ran out. The twins saw my bleeding arm and burst into tears, clinging to me tightly. "Mommy, don't die." In their innocent minds, they thought bleeding could be deadly. I hurried to calm them down, telling them not to cry. The broken window compromised our sound insulation, making it easy to attract the attention of both the living and the zombies. Matthew quickly examined my wound and fetched the first aid kit to stop the bleeding and bandage it. He was very efficient, stopping the bleeding quickly. Having lived with him for 4 years, I was unaware he knew first aid. "I used to get into fights in school. Picked up a few things," he said. Noticing my puzzled look, I averted my gaze. I didn't ask about that," he responded. "I just wanted to tell you, I was unaccustomed to this. Usually, I was the one who kept talking to him, and while he would respond, he rarely initiated conversations about his past. Because of the broken window, we couldn't spend much time in the living room anymore, so Matthew suggested I rest in the master bedroom. I'll stay in the other room with the kids." "I don't want to go to the master bedroom because it holds too many traces of him and me. The kids' beds are too small, and you're injured now. It would be bad if you bumped your wounds," he said. Seeing that I didn't move, he added, "I'll stay in my parents' room. You go and rest. Noah, Violet, take Mom to rest." The twins obediently pushed me towards the master bedroom. 2 years later, as I stepped into this room again, everything was as it had been before. The decor, the bedding I had chosen myself, even the scent of the room hadn't changed. It was still the lavender fragrance I always used. All this made me feel somewhat dazed, as if the divorce had just happened yesterday. One twin pulled back the covers while the other helped me take off my shoes, and then they carefully helped me lie down. "Come on out, don't disturb Mom's rest." Matthew stood at the doorway and spoke, making no move to enter. The little ones immediately climbed down from the bed and, holding Matthew's hand, left together. The children's obedience to Matthew made me feel a bit lost. It was expected of Noah, who had always grown up by Matthew's side, but Violet was raised by me, and yet she was so attached to Matthew too. I covered my head with the blanket, which also smelled like Matthew. I couldn't bear it and flung the blanket aside. I had only intended to take a short nap, but when I woke up, it was already 8 p.m., although I had dreams. They were free from the terrifying scenes of the past. When I walked out of the room, the siblings were reading in their room, having already had their dinner prepared by Matthew. Matthew was on the terrace, clearing out all the plants, and mentioned he wanted to try planting some vegetables now while there was still water. "There's some food left for you in the kitchen. Go eat," he said, feeling hungry. I went to the kitchen and found a meal with both meat and vegetables, and even soup. The taste was quite good. After eating, I regained some strength and took a warm bath. When I came out of the bathroom, Matthew had already tidied up the plants and, checking the doors once more, retired to his parents' room. We maintained a polite distance from each other. On the 3rd day of the apocalypse, the power went out. I was still able to contact my parents, but Matthew's parents were unreachable, and he kept dialing their number to no avail. He sat in a chair, motionless, with a grave expression. "Noah, Violet, go and ask Dad to cook. Tell him you're hungry," I told the children. Although my hand was injured, it wouldn't greatly affect my cooking, but I felt it was better for Matthew to distract himself a bit. The siblings immediately ran to him. "Daddy, we're hungry. This brought Matthew back to reality. Looking at his children, he gently touched their faces. What would you like to eat? I want steamed eggs. I want fish. Each child had their request. And Matthew nodded, then asked me, what about you? I'll have what the kids are having, but for the fish, let's not fry it as it smells too strong. Let's go with steamed fish with a bit of soybean paste. The living room windows were shattered, and strong-smelling food could easily give us away. With gas and water still running but not for long, we had to quickly consume the fresh meat in the fridge to prevent it from spoiling. While Matthew cooked, I browsed the news on my phone. Every country was suffering from the catastrophe. The virus seemed like a premeditated assault, spreading and consuming across the globe. The government continuously reminded residents to seek immediate shelter and wait for rescue, avoiding direct confrontations with the zombies, due to the high contagiousness. Even a minor scratch from a zombie could lead to infection. Matthew's phone buzzed with a new message from Audrey. Have you managed to contact your uncle and aunt? Don't worry too much, it might just be poor signal at sea. I had thought that after my divorce from Matthew, he would marry her, especially since I heard Audrey ask him that night, did you marry Lucy just to get back at me? Matthew, you don't have to torment yourself like this. Matthew remained silent as he looked at Audrey. Although he said nothing, sometimes silence itself is an affirmative answer. Even though my family's background couldn't compare to Matthew's, and our child was already 3 years old, I still decided to get a divorce. My friends advised me to endure it, arguing that a husband who provides financially and doesn't come home often, providing a monthly allowance of $50,000, is more than many could ask for, but I couldn't do it. I could tolerate a loveless existence, turn a blind eye for the sake of our child, but I couldn't live in the shadow of another woman with a man I once loved wholeheartedly. I continued to check my phone, taking advantage of the signal to search for ways to fix glass. Besides the pane that broke yesterday, 2 more in the living room had cracked. They hadn't fallen out yet, but I wasn't sure how long they would last. With winter only 2 or 3 months away, I needed to come up with a plan. A little later, another message from Audrey arrived. Why do you always take so long to reply? Are you really considering getting back with her? Her last sentence stunned me. What did she mean by really considering? Had Matthew discussed this idea with her before? I sensed a feeling of insecurity in her words, but she was overthinking it. It was uncertain if we could even survive until the world order was restored, let alone consider her the main concern. After Matthew finished cooking, we ate in the kitchen. He carefully picked out the bones from the fish for the children, and when they resisted the vegetables, he sternly told them not to be picky. Mommy, the twins pleaded as they tugged at me for rescue. Matthew carried them back, calling Mommy won't help. You have to eat your vegetables today. He was indeed very responsible when it came to the children. After dinner, Matthew saw the message on his phone and replied to Audrey, although I didn't know what he wrote. On the 4th day of the apocalypse, the water pressure decreased, and the mobile signal became intermittent. We couldn't reach either of our parents, and worry hung heavy over us. But regardless of our concerns, we had to keep our spirits up for our children's sake. While we still had water, we started planting vegetables at night under the moonlight to avoid being noticed. Matthew had never gardened before, but I had some experience since my parents loved to garden. I showed him what to do. An hour later, aside from some decorative plants left untouched for camouflage, we had planted vegetables in all other pots. Now it was all down to luck to see if the seeds stored for years would still germinate. Daddy, I want to wear a flower, Violet whispered as she pointed to the cleared flowers. Matthew clipped a small rose into Violet's hair, and Noah gave a thumbs up. My sister is the second prettiest in the world. Unhappy with being second, Violet demanded, then who's the prettiest? Our classmate Bella is the prettiest. She's more beautiful than a princess, even prettier than flowers, Noah cheerfully said. Violet sulked, lowering her head. Big meanie brother, I won't play with you anymore. I asked Noah, who did you learn these sweet words from? Noah looked at me, puzzled, clearly not understanding what sweet words meant. Matthew, trimming the plants nearby, chimed in, isn't it hereditary from you? I wanted to argue but found myself without a comeback. I knew what he meant. He was teasing about the sweet nothings I used to say when I was wooing him. Indeed, I had fallen for him at first sight, and he hadn't rejected my confession. I adored him, and naturally, every word I spoke was filled with sweetness, but in his eyes, I must have seemed like a foolish clown. I sat quietly in the bedroom, reminding myself not to dwell on the past and to treat Matthew merely as someone to help with chores like laundry and cooking. After a while, Noah came over with a vase full of fresh flowers. "Mom, these are for you." Looking at the beautifully arranged flowers, I suspected Matthew had sent them through our child, but what was he trying to convey? Was it an apology? Later that night, when I went out to fetch some water, I saw Matthew looking at a photo of his parents, with Noah and Violet asleep beside him. He looked up at the sound of my footsteps, his eyes filled with unease and worry. My parents, will they die, even now? At his prime, capable of standing on his own, he was still a child in front of his parents. Though I've been reborn, I don't know the fate of his parents, or even his own. They are at sea, they should be safe, was all I could tell him. He nodded, looking at the children beside him, silent for a long time. On the 5th day of the apocalypse, the water stopped, and the cell signal was completely lost. I lost contact with my parents, and our neighborhood fell silent. The last news I saw online before the disconnection was that half of the world's population was infected, and the situation looked grim. Rescue teams repeatedly tried to eliminate the zombies. I saw armed helicopters, armored vehicles, and various artillery in the city. Although the firepower was strong, the presence of many living civilians made the rescue teams cautious, ultimately leading them to either retreat or get infected by the zombies. On the 6th day of the apocalypse, the temperature suddenly rose, and the air was filled with the stench of decay. The children kept vomiting, and wearing masks seemed futile. Matthew and I repeatedly sprayed disinfectant to prevent the outbreak of the plague, suspecting from a previous life that the children had caught the fever from the plague. Fortunately, a few days passed, and aside from vomiting, the children showed no other symptoms, which slightly relieved me. On the 10th day of the apocalypse, it rained. Many people came out with buckets to collect water. The survivors in this neighborhood were mostly well off. Many homeowners didn't need to go out to work, so they weren't infected, and they usually had some food stored. But not necessarily water. The presence of so many people also meant that when food became scarce, conflicts would arise. When people become desperate, they're capable of anything. I don't know how many people are left in my building, but when that day truly comes, it will surely be a fierce battle. One evening, while watering the plants I had grown, I heard intermittent voices and a few low growls from my neighbor Michael's apartment on the same floor. The growls sounded like zombies. But how could zombies possibly coexist with the living? I listened carefully but couldn't hear anything more, thinking perhaps the sounds of zombies in the neighborhood had confused me, because zombies absolutely cannot coexist with the living. We are just food. On the 20th day of the apocalypse, some people in the neighborhood had run out of food and began searching from house to house for supplies. Those who were still alive and had supplies naturally kept their doors firmly closed, while others searched uninhabited rooms. There was activity in our building too. Thankfully they didn't come upstairs. That evening, the smell of burning wood and food wafted through the air as those people cooked using furniture as fuel. Amidst these smells, I caught a hint of incense, so I asked Matthew, "Do you smell something burning, like incense?" Matthew sniffed carefully and nodded. "Perhaps someone is praying or making offerings. I think it's coming from Michael's place." "I heard someone talking there last time," Matthew replied. "Michael doesn't believe in gods or Buddhas. It must be someone else." But I still felt uneasy. Although Michael had always seemed fine, something about it didn't sit right with me. "If you're worried, I can go check on his house tonight." Matthew noticed my concern. "Don't go," I stopped him anxiously. "It would be bad if you encountered any zombies. It's better if we just stay here quietly. We can face whatever comes our way as it happens." "Okay," he responded. I noticed a slight smile on his lips. He seemed to be in a better mood now compared to his recent downhearted days. Strange, that night, when we went to water the vegetables, we were surprised to find that several pots had sprouted. I had almost lost hope, but it turned out to be a pleasant surprise. "Mom, how long will it take for them to grow?" my children asked me quietly. "About a couple of weeks," I replied. "Then we'll have some greens to eat." The kids, who didn't like vegetables, seemed a bit disappointed. As I walked away, I heard them whispering to the tiny sprouts, "Greens, oh greens, don't grow too fast, you'll get eaten." They have grown up carefree, not yet aware of life's hardships. I hope they can remain carefree like this forever. on the 30th day of the apocalypse, the weather began to cool down. Continuous autumn rain made the world misty, and the putrid smell diminished somewhat. Making the air a bit fresher, I dressed the children in autumn clothes, and Matthew and I had already sealed the broken windows with curtains and cardboard. However, this was not a long-term solution. The city's winters are dry and harsh, and cardboard can hardly withstand the cold. Matthew started dismantling the solid wood furniture at home to prepare for winter, with Noah and Violet clumsily helping by his side. Over this month, I've noticed that Violet has become much happier. In the 2 years I took care of her, she was always well behaved, and I thought she was just mature for her age. But now, it seems she also enjoys laughing and playing around, especially being with her dad and brother. Matthew accidentally hurt his hand, and the siblings were extremely concerned, one helping to blow on the wound and the other rushing to fetch the first aid kit. "Mom, please help Dad bandage his wound. He helped you last time." Noah urgently pulled me over. I examined Matthew's wound. It wasn't serious, but there were many splinters that needed to be removed. I sterilized a needle with alcohol and started to remove the splinters while holding Matthew's hand. This was the first time I had touched his hand since deciding to divorce. His fingers were still as slender and attractive as before. I have a thing for hands and used to love holding his, swinging them back and forth, feeling like the happiest person in the world. Ouch! Matthew winced in pain. And I realized I hadn't removed the splinter but had accidentally pushed the needle in deeper. As soon as he showed signs of pain, the kids began to blow on the wound, saying, "Daddy, just bear with it a little. Mom, be gentle, Daddy is hurting." Seeing the children so concerned about him, Matthew looked at me proudly. "Can you come closer? How can you see the splinter from that far?" I had to move closer. If it weren't for needing his help later, I wouldn't have been so careful with him. On the 50th day of the apocalypse, people began to loot supplies, and during the chaos, someone was pushed off a building. The moment the person fell, they were surrounded by zombies, and when the zombies dispersed, nothing was left. It all happened so suddenly, and Noah and Violet saw everything. They were so frightened that they started crying, and Matthew and I could only cover their mouths tightly. That night, the children were so scared that they started running a high fever. Matthew and I stayed by their side without leaving, caring for them until their fever began to subside the next afternoon. "You should go to sleep. I'll watch over them." Matthew's eyes were red from exhaustion. I shook my head, remembering how in a past life, the children were on the brink of death from a high fever. "How could I possibly sleep?" He then said, "Then sleep here, and I'll wake you if anything happens. We can't both be exhausting ourselves." I knew he was right. So I lay down next to the children. After sleeping for 3 hours, we switched, and he fell asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow, clearly exhausted as well. By then, the children's temperatures had normalized, and they were hungry. I told them to stay quiet and play in bed while I went to prepare some food in the kitchen. I made sure the kitchen was sealed tight. Then I steamed some eggs, cooked porridge, and sliced some luncheon meat. Foods that wouldn't emit a strong smell. We ate quietly. After the events of yesterday, the children were too scared to speak loudly or even sleep unless we were with them. They were only 5 years old, yet they had already seen the cruelty of the world. The looting had continued for about 7 or 8 days. Our floor was searched too. People looking for supplies had even smashed the door of our storage room. Matthew and I were ready for them, but for some reason, they suddenly left. On the 67th day of the apocalypse. It was the anniversary of the day the children and I were bitten by zombies in a previous life. I woke up from a nightmare in the morning, the children's little arms and legs pressing against me, their bodies warm and soft. A sliver of sunlight slipped through the gap in the curtains, casting a warm hue on the floor. Matthew appeared at the door, a faint scent of green leaves emanating from him. "Time to get up and eat. I've made vegetable porridge." I stared at him blankly, my soul slowly returning from the horrifying dream to this real world filled with the essence of humanity. In that moment, I wanted to embrace him, to embrace this reality, but reason made me get up calmly. And then I dressed and washed the children. On the 110th day of the apocalypse, someone in the neighborhood tried to drive out, probably because food was hard to find and they had to fend for themselves, but the car didn't get far before it stopped at an intersection, surrounded by zombies, never to move again. We didn't know how many people in the neighborhood were still alive, but from the last looting, the winners must have taken quite a bit. they were surely still alive. Lying low just like us, I occasionally heard some noise from Michael's place too. He was still alive. Sometimes I could hear the zombies' low growls, but when I called Matthew, the sounds would disappear. Matthew said I was just too tense and hearing things. On the 150th day of the apocalypse, the deep winter had arrived. Our apartment was on the 25th floor, the north wind howling, snow being blown through the cracked windows, the cold air permeating the room, freezing any dripping water. The children left their favorite cartoon-themed beds and moved into the master bedroom with me. The master bedroom was larger, and Matthew and I cleaned up the walk-in closet and bathroom, moving the kitchenware over. It was like living in a studio apartment, no need to run back and forth between the kitchen and bedroom. We wore thick winter clothes, burning pieces of furniture wood in an iron pot for warmth, enduring the cold winter days. Matthew still went back to his parents' room to sleep every night, that room being closer to the living room and colder. Having faced life and death, I didn't hate him as much anymore, and he hadn't done anything too outrageous over the past 6 months. I wouldn't stop him if he wanted to sleep in the master bedroom, but he never mentioned it. One night, while I was adding wood to the fire, I suddenly heard his voice and thought someone had broken in. I immediately grabbed a knife and tiptoed towards the noise, but no one had broken in. He was just having a nightmare and crying. I decided to go in and wake him up. He was still calling for his parents when he woke from his dream. "I'm fine, go back to sleep," he said, seeing my thin clothes and draping his jacket over me. His hands were very cold, as was the room. Noticing no signs of burnt wood in the pot, I asked, "Why didn't you burn the wood?" He replied, "We need to conserve it. Winter is still long." I touched the clothes draped over me and heard myself say, "Go back to sleep." After I spoke, I regretted it a bit, but the words were already out. In the darkness, I couldn't see his expression, but I could feel his body shaking, perhaps from the cold, so intense that neither of us could control ourselves. After returning to my room, I lay back down in bed. The children's bodies were like furnaces, and the quilt was warm and cozy. Matthew checked the ventilation before coming over. He was always meticulous, worried about carbon monoxide poisoning from burning wood, and he checked the ventilation every night before leaving. He lay down on the other side of the bed, with the children between us. I dreamt that Mom and Dad came back. He whispered softly. They said they came to check on us and told us to live well. I had a bad feeling. Half a year had passed, and it was likely that his parents were no longer alive. Matthew, being their son, might have sensed it. They were on a cruise ship. They should be safe. I comforted him, echoing the hope in my heart. Yes, they're on a cruise ship. There are no zombies there. They can fish if they're hungry, collect rainwater if they're thirsty. They have a good chance of surviving. Or maybe they've made it to a deserted island and are surviving like Robinson Crusoe, Matthew said slowly, perhaps convincing himself as well. I listened quietly until he slowly fell asleep. I thought of my own parents too, wondering how they were now. I got sick and developed a high fever. To avoid infecting the children, Matthew made a thick bed in the wardrobe for me to sleep in. Noah and Violet, wrapped in quilts, looked at me with longing, like little quails. After taking medicine, all I did was sleep, drifting in and out of consciousness. Sometimes I thought Matthew and I were still not divorced, and at other times, I imagined being with the children in the mall from a past life, where happiness and pain mingled, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. On the first day of my fever, I was very hot, exhaling steamy breaths. The next day I was so cold that my teeth chattered and my body curled up tightly. Matthew lay down next to me and held me in his arms. Instinctively, I tried to push him away, but he gripped my hand firmly. "Just sleep, don't move around." Oh, so he was here to warm the bed. I thought he was silly. Couldn't he just use a hot water bottle? But no, that would risk passing the cold to him. What would happen to the children if both of us adults were sick? When I reminded him, he said he was wearing a mask, which reassured me slightly. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt his fingertips caressing my face, ending with a soft sigh. When I woke up, Matthew was no longer by my side. He was cooking. The snow outside had piled up more than a foot high. The wood in the pot burned slowly, and the millet porridge bubbled merrily. The two little quails were holding small bowls, waiting for their meal. "Daddy, the porridge you made looks so delicious." Noah and Violet nearly drooled. Matthew covered the pot. "Mommy is sick. this is for her, you guys will have noodles." The siblings both expressed their disappointment in unison. "Can we just try a bit, just a spoonful?" Matthew smiled gently. "All right, bring your bowls over," hidden under the quilt. I secretly watched all this, seriously contemplating my past and present with Matthew. To him, perhaps I was just the right person at the right time. I arrived on the scene just when he was feeling lonely, and it so happened that I could fill the void he was experiencing, so we ended up together. Like in this apocalypse, he was just the right person at the right time, so now we live together. It all started so serendipitously. But will the ending be the same? 3 days later, my illness hadn't improved. As the saying goes, illness arrives like a collapsing mountain and leaves like drawing silk. I could only lie down. The little one seemed unfazed by the cold, daringly sneaking into the living room to build a snowman while we weren't watching. Matthew quickly dragged them back and gave them a stern lecture, warning them not to go out again. Such harsh weather easily breeds sin. In the afternoon, I suddenly noticed an eerie silence in the room. Usually, when the kids are quiet, they are either sleeping or up to mischief. I put on my clothes and got up to find Matthew asleep in his chair. He hadn't been resting well lately. After searching around, I saw Violet standing at the doorway of the storeroom. "Violet, didn't I say not to go out?" I was so angry I felt like spanking her. But she pointed to another door. "Mom, Uncle took brother over to play." My heart sank. I pushed open the door and saw that it had been left ajar, with a small stool propped against it, likely used by the siblings to open it themselves. But how did Michael contact the children to open the door, and why did he take Noah away? I didn't dare think further. Trembling, I went to get Matthew. Hearing this, he panicked too. "Stay inside the house, don't come out," he instructed as he grabbed a knife and went out. But I couldn't just wait anxiously at home. I picked up a hammer. Not wanting to leave Violet alone, I took her with me. We reached Michael's storage room door, which was half open. Matthew had already gone in, but all was quiet. I walked in too and smelled something strange. There was the scent of incense, and also the stench of decay. When I reached the living room, I was stunned by the scene before me. Matthew stood motionless by the tattered sofa. In front of him was a gaunt Michael holding a sleeping Noah, and behind Michael, a female zombie struggled against the ropes binding her hands. That female zombie was Claire, Michael's wife, whom I had seen on the first day of the apocalypse. Now everything made sense. Why I had heard zombie growls from Michael's place several times. Why those scavenging for supplies retreated when they reached our floor. Because Michael had been living with his wife, who had turned into a zombie. On the wall was a Buddha image torn from a book, and in front of it, a porcelain bowl filled with incense ashes on a meticulously clean table, the cleanest spot in the house. Matthew said Michael didn't believe in gods, but all this showed he was devout, without suffering. "There's no belief in gods, Michael, give me Noah." Matthew's voice was hoarse and cautious. I too held my breath, afraid to make any noise that might provoke Michael, who looked very disturbed. Michael clutched Noah tightly, looked up at us, and cracked a smile. "Bro, I have good news. Claire is pregnant. I'm going to be a dad too, no longer envious of your twins, Matthew." And I looked at Claire, who was a zombie wearing a beautiful blue dress with a flat belly. "You don't believe?" Michael pointed to a report on the sofa. "Here's the medical report. The baby is already 2 months. I looked down, and indeed, there was a pregnancy report. The date above marks the beginning of the apocalypse. In an instant, my heart started to ache. Despite having faced life and death separations before, I couldn't help but feel sorrow for this apocalyptic world. "Michael, let Noah go first, and we can talk this through," said Matthew, hiding a knife and slowly approaching Michael. "I can't let him go. Claire is barely hanging on. She's starving. She hasn't eaten anything since we found out she was pregnant. She's about to starve to death." Michael suddenly held Noah tighter and started walking towards Claire, intending to feed Noah to her. He had lost his mind. Matthew, disregarding everything, rushed forward, grabbing Noah in an attempt to wrestle him away. However, Michael, though thin, was surprisingly strong. Matthew, fearful of hurting Noah, didn't use his full strength and failed to retrieve him. "Michael, that's Noah, the child you watched grow up, not food. If Claire were still here, she would never want to see you like this," Matthew said while trying to distract Michael and edge closer. Upon hearing this, a flicker of sanity returned to Michael. He looked at Noah in his arms, his eyes filled with shock. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me, brother, I'm sorry. He tried to hand the child back to us, but Claire growled lowly, causing him to spiral back into confusion. You have 2 children, one less won't matter, you can have more, many more Noahs. But Claire is dying, she's about to die. As he was about to hand Noah over to Claire again, Matthew signaled to me, with a chokehold. He brought Michael down, pinning him to the ground with his knee on Michael's chest, immobilizing him. I took the opportunity to snatch Noah away, which drove Claire mad. She broke free from her restraints and lunged at Matthew. I was always terrified of zombies, but in that moment, found the courage to kick Claire away. Matthew quickly got to his feet and retreated. Claire then turned on Michael, biting fiercely into his neck. Michael instinctively tried to resist but ultimately embraced her gently. He started laughing, tears streaming down his face. A Buddhist image torn from a book, lying next to them, slowly soaked up the spreading blood. I lit incense in reverence, unable to calm the turmoil in my heart. Michael clung to a sliver of hope, but in the end, the divine did not resolve his regrets. After closing the door to Michael's house, Matthew and I quickly ran back with the children. The noise had likely attracted zombies. We needed to hurry. Once the children and I were in the storage room, Matthew stopped at the door. Come in, quick, I urged. Violet also became anxious. Daddy, hurry. Matthew looked down at his hand where a dark, bleeding scratch marked him. Had Claire scratched him? But how could that be? They hadn't touched. A severe ringing filled my ears. It must be some cruel joke by fate. With a bang, Matthew closed the door, leaving himself outside and us inside. I rushed to open it, but I couldn't. Logically, I needed to protect the children, but emotionally, I couldn't bear to see Matthew turn into a zombie. These past 2 years, I thought I hated him, avoided his calls and video chats, wishing to never see him again. Yet, in the moment of his impending death, I realized I had never truly let him go. Overwhelmed by intense emotions, I broke down in tears. Lucy, don't cry. Lock the door and barricade it. Matthew's voice came through. Stay inside and don't be afraid. I saw a plane a few days ago. Things should start getting better soon. I will stay here. As long as you don't open the door, no one can hurt you. And, I never. He paused, sighing deeply before trailing off. What? I asked him. He didn't reply. I heard him slump down against the door. After a while, he spoke. It's nothing, just lock the door, and once things get better, take the kids back to your parents. Forget everything here and live a good life. He wanted me to forget him, to forget the past. I nodded weakly. Noah and Violet started crying, wanting to open the door and let Matthew in. Matthew told them not to cry and to listen to me. Time seemed to stretch indefinitely, yet also felt intensely condensed. I wished it could stop at this moment. Minutes later, there was the sound of chaotic footsteps from the lower floor. Zombies were coming up, but Matthew stood up again, quietly watching the staircase, knife in hand. Something was wrong. In my last life, I saw people bitten by zombies grow weak and transform within 5 minutes, but Matthew was still standing. I looked at my hands covered in a black layer. Michael's place was dirty. Could it be? Matthew, look at the wound on the back of your hand. See if it's black blood or just dirt. I urgently said through the door crack. After hearing this, Matthew looked and rubbed the spot. The black rubbed off, revealing a dark red wound. Only living blood is red. The first zombie appeared at the staircase. Without hesitation, I opened the door and pulled Matthew in, slamming it shut just as the zombie lunged at us. You're crazy. I could kill you all, Matthew said, twisting the doorknob, trying to leave. I pressed his hand. You're not infected. Your wound is just a scrape. Matthew looked at me incredulously. The next second, he pushed us outside and locked himself in the storage room, unsure if he was truly uninfected and choosing to isolate himself. The children and I waited outside the door, each second stretching like years. Finally, 3 hours later, Matthew opened the door, first extending his injured hand. Lucy, see if the wound is healing. After a careful inspection, I nodded. Yes, it's scabbing over. Zombies don't have the ability to heal. It was all a false alarm. He walked out of the storage room, and we looked at each other. I had so much I wanted to say just moments ago, yet now, I found myself speechless. He embraced us tightly, the 3 of us together, silent for a long time before he finally let go. We melted some snow to bathe with. After the afternoon's events at Michael's, we were certainly exposed. But now I was no longer afraid. If this ordeal was destined for us, we would face it head-on, while bathing Noah. I asked him, "Why did you open the door for Uncle Michael?" Noah replied, "Uncle Michael told us on the balcony that Aunt Yu is having a baby, but she's not feeling well and wanted something to eat, so I took her some milk. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I won't do it again." So that was it. I couldn't blame the child. His world isn't clearly divided into good and evil, and growth inevitably comes with its pains. That night, we made a lavish dinner, something we hadn't enjoyed in a long time. In the middle of the night, I woke up thirsty, the water glass beside me empty. I got up to reach for a bottle on top of the cabinet. The closet was high, and just as I tiptoed and finally reached the bottle, I almost dropped it. A hand quickly caught the water. It was Matthew. He must have heard some noise and come over. "Thank you," I said as I took the water and began to drink it greedily. He didn't seem to intend to leave, and in the cramped space, we were almost touching. I couldn't make out his expression in the dim light. "Lucy, I thought I was going to die today," he suddenly said. I knew it. I thought he would die too. He hugged me, resting his chin in the crook of my neck. "I don't want to have regrets anymore. Can we start over?" Did he regret something before? I moved my lips, wanting to ask what about Audrey, whether she was alive or dead. She was a barrier between him and me. But just like before, I couldn't voice my question. As if the answer no longer mattered, at this moment, he was alive, we were alive, and that was enough. I hugged his back, responding to him, letting myself lose control in the cold night after surviving death. On the 210th day of the apocalypse, the long winter finally ended. The plants on the terrace that had been dried all winter sprouted green shoots. The zombies in the neighborhood began to move around. We had thought that after being exposed, people would come to rob supplies. But nothing happened. It's unclear whether they were also afraid of us or if there were no other living people left in the neighborhood. Matthew and I took inventory of our supplies, estimating they would last just over a month. After that, we would need to go out and find more. Matthew began teaching me some self-defense techniques. Only then did I realize that he wasn't lying when he said he used to fight a lot in school and no one dared to mess with him. He had just restrained himself after getting married. Fortunately, before our food ran out, we received a message of hope. Planes appeared again, broadcasting, "All survivors, please take shelter in place. Our military will conduct a large-scale clearance of zombies. Please do not go outside. Take shelter in place." The day after the broadcast, planes dropped many packages in open areas of the city, including our neighborhood square. When the packages hit the ground, zombies crowded around them in dense layers. Something in the packages attracted the zombies. Just as we wondered how they would be cleared, the packages exploded, sending zombie flesh flying, and our ears buzzed from the blast. But that was ineffective. Zombies only die from severe head injuries. Although the explosion killed some, those whose heads were not damaged could still move. Didn't the government know this? As I puzzled over this, I noticed that the fallen zombies did not get up again. They lay motionless as if really dead. The packages must contain more than just bombs. There must be some biochemical substance that can kill zombies, Matthew analyzed. Whatever it was, I just hoped this disaster would end soon. The large-scale clearance lasted for half a month, during which the number of zombies visibly decreased. Soon after, rescue teams were stationed and began to clear any remaining zombies building by building. It was a huge project. And there were not enough hands on the rescue team, so they recruited volunteers. Matthew signed up. On the day he registered, we saw other survivors in the neighborhood, about 50 or 60 people, all emaciated. Everyone was silent. The past days had made everyone extremely cautious, and even though the crisis was over, the psychological scars left were not something that could heal in a day or two. On the first day the volunteers started their task, the children and I saw Matthew off. "I'll be back tonight, just like a normal day at work, don't worry," he said, trying to sound casual, but clearing zombies was not like going to work. How could I not worry? I checked his protective suit. "Be careful, and don't go to Michael's area, let others handle it." Michael and Claire were initially locked in a house by us, and now it was Matthew's team's turn to clear them out. Although Michael and Claire had become zombies, after all, everyone used to be very good friends. Matthew nodded. hugged the children, and then left. The men went to clear out the zombies, and the women weren't idle either. We were organized to do some logistical work to provide material support to the front lines. When Matthew returned in the evening, he didn't speak for a long time. I thought he had finally gone to see Michael, but later he told me that while clearing houses, he saw many bodies of normal people. Some had died of hunger and thirst, others had committed suicide, and some families were found tightly hugging each other. Lucy, did you ever call me in your previous life? He suddenly asked again about the day of the apocalypse. This time, I nodded. You didn't get through, did you, Then I must have died at the beginning of the apocalypse. Why are you so sure? I asked him, although I knew there was evidence. At the beginning of this apocalypse, he had called the company, and no one answered, indicating there were no survivors there. He replied, because in the 2 years after our divorce, I was always waiting for your call. I couldn't have missed it. I was stunned. If that's the case, why didn't you call me during those 2 years? He gave a bitter smile. Because you said you hated me and never wanted to see me again. You were so definitive, and I lost confidence. Indeed, I had said those words in my previous life, and he had taken them to heart. It's just that in that previous life, we really missed each other forever. That night, Matthew slept restlessly, waking up several times to touch me and the children, as if to confirm that we truly existed. Sometimes I also wonder if all this is just a dream, a fantasy before I die. But the children's breathing is real, and so is Matthew's body warmth. We are truly alive here. On the 260th day of the apocalypse, communication began to be restored on a small scale, and Matthew, due to his excellent performance, was appointed as one of the camp's leaders. Using his position, I contacted a rescue team from my hometown, and after much inquiry, I finally heard news of my parents. They were alive and had even joined an agricultural task force, busily planting rice, but there was still no news of Matthew's parents. The cruise ship they were on hadn't returned to port, and its whereabouts were unknown. Days passed, and the clearing of zombies progressed smoothly. More and more people were rescued, and continuously, people came to live in our camp. On the 400th day of the apocalypse, I saw Audrey. She and her family were alive. She saw me too, but after I greeted her, she turned away without acknowledging me. I don't know if she truly had nothing to do with Matthew anymore, as she claimed, or if she had regrets. At noon, Matthew called, put on some nice clothes and makeup, bring the kids, and meet me at the camp office at 2. Is there an event? I asked him. The request to dress up seemed quite formal. Yeah, don't forget, be there at 2. I have to go now, he instructed before hanging up quickly. I went home, took a bath, changed into a dress, did my makeup, and then headed out with the children. At the camp office, I didn't see Matthew but saw a long line. So I waited on the side. Sister, are you here to remarry too? Your twins are really beautiful, a woman next to me asked. I paused. This is for marriage registration, the woman enthusiastically replied. Yes, the camp is open for registration today. I'm here to remarry too. I went to my ex-husband's house to see the kids and ended up stuck here for so long. The person I thought was tolerable led me to consider remarrying. What about you? I awkwardly smiled, feeling embarrassed to admit that I too was stuck at my ex-husband's house. Was Matthew calling me here to suggest remarriage? Just as I was about to call him, Noah Violet suddenly shouted, Daddy. I turned around and there was Matthew, standing neatly in front of me. He was the camp leader, well known by many, so his appearance drew everyone's gaze, especially the woman who had been eagerly listening earlier. I quickly pulled him aside. Don't tell me you asked me here to talk about remarriage. He appeared calm, showing no signs of guilt for the sudden notice. Well, it had to be addressed sooner or later. I was planning to wait until things were less busy, but there's no day like today, which seems quite fitting, but I'm totally unprepared. Why the rush? I saw Audrey today, and I was afraid you might change your mind. He looked at me earnestly. I also want you to know, I've never seen you as anyone else. You have always been uniquely yourself. Whether it was our first marriage or now, the person I want to live with has always been you. I wanted to tell you the day I thought I was hurt by Claire, but feared it would burden you. I hope it's not too late now. I remembered that day, separated by a door, his words half-spoken, followed by a sigh. He thought he was going to die and didn't want my future to be haunted by him. So, Can you tell me what exactly you like about me? I finally voiced the question. He replied. I can't specify exactly, but knowing I wake up to see you and our child every day makes life worthwhile. The queue for the marriage certificate was moving forward, everyone's faces filled with smiles and sweetness. Standing here, transcending time and mortality, since neither of us could let go, we decided to follow our hearts without regrets. We soon got our certificate, and the official handing it to us wished, "May you have a harmonious union and be blessed with children soon." Just then, Noah Violet jumped up. "We've already been born." Everyone burst into laughter, including the staff who leaned back chuckling. "Oh, my mistake. Then I wish your family happiness, health, and joy." As we stepped out of the office, I looked towards our home. The once broken windows had been replaced, flowers on the balcony were blooming profusely, and clothes fluttered in the wind. Everything was as it was in the past life, only this time, the beginning was just right, leading to a perfect ending.